Okay, we are live. Which one is our overall? That's you, Darko.
On.
Me.
Nice.
There's the overall one. Sick.
Alright, brilliant. Get rid of that bad
Put
boy
this in
there.
the center. Will it cover
Yeah,
it?
see if you can get right in the middle there.
Yeah, it'll cover the podcast thing though.
Move. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's
not too
alright,
bad.
that'll
That
do
looks
for
pretty
now.
cool. It looks pretty cool. Sweet.
Fuck it.
Alright,
let's
good to
get into
go.
it.
Let's do it.
We good.
Yeah.
We Gucci.
How you been, man?
Yeah, good. What's going on?
Not much, man. Not much at all.
Not much. Man,
Yeah.
lots of stuff's happened this week.
Yeah.
Did you see that Trump went onto the Flagrant podcast?
Yeah, I did. I just watched it the other day.
Yeah.
Man, I was actually absolutely amazed. Like every time I've heard Trump speak up until now, I couldn't really stand the guy. Even though like I agree with a lot of his, I'd probably support him if I was in America, especially against the other side, which is
Yeah.
Harris and the puppet campaign basically. But I just didn't like hearing him talk. There was something about it that just grated me. Like he was funny sometimes, but then he would always like lose his thread and be bombastic and like not get to the point of what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
That whole podcast, he was on fire for it. He was on message, he was on point. He was like riffing with them. He seemed like the stand-up comedian in that podcast.
He's funny. He's actually a
He's
funny
so
guy,
funny.
I find him actually very charismatic and really enjoyable to listen to.
Yeah.
He can just riff so good. What was he calling it? I can't remember what he called it. He
Weaving.
said weaving.
Yeah.
He's like weaving all the time. I can see that. It's like on the Flagrant podcast, they were like trying to chase him down a little bit as
Yeah.
well. And he was like, he even admitted he didn't want to talk about who he thought did it or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think
he did the same thing again. He weaved when they asked him like a tough question about immigration, which I think is one of the toughest questions for it, which is like, okay, you want to slow down how many people are coming in. What do you do with the people who are already in?
Yeah.
And that's such a hard one because like if you're established in a country and you're working, you're paying taxes, I think there should be some element of amnesty. I don't think you should be like trying to pull people out of their homes, their communities, and throwing them out.
Fair enough.
That's probably worse. But they were trying to pin him on that. And you could tell that he just had the savviness to him where he knows that if Trump were to say that, he would lose his own base.
Yeah.
And if he were to like, say what he really wanted there, he would lose them as an audience. And he just navigated that so brilliantly. Like
He's good at it.
what a tough position to be in because you've got like hard-lining Republicans who want all of them out. Like if you came illegally, you're getting deported. Then you've got like moderates, and he just navigated that so well. I was impressed.
Yeah, he's good. He's fucking good. I must admit, him versus Kamala, dude. Kamala, if she wins this, it's gonna be insane.
It's the biggest DI hire I've ever seen in my life, right?
100%.
Because she only got picked because she was a black woman, and I don't even say that as like a combative statement. That Biden himself said that when he said, "I need to pick my vice president. I'm not sure who it is yet, but I know it's gonna be a black woman." He said that, man. I don't know if he was supposed to say if dementia was setting in, but he verbally said that. There's a quote from Biden saying it will be a black woman.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't know, this is all like propaganda, but Trump was like, she's always been Indian. And then since she started running for president, now she's calling herself black. I was like, that's actually quite interesting.
And she
that
starts
that's
putting on
that
the
pivot.
accent as well. Have you
Yeah.
seen her? Someone showed
I
me like a
saw that,
side by
yeah.
side of her in like Boston doing a speech, and then somewhere else, and it's like a different person speaking. Like what a, it's an absolute head scratcher because I was telling you before last week. I can actually confirm it now as well that Disney Marvel Disney Marvel is one of the companies. I think Microsoft was the other. They're like firing across the board their DEI campaign managers, producers, anyone who was involved in like the DEI push is getting like sacked en masse from these big corporations because they've just bled the money for so long. And it seems like whatever the jig was, like the jig is up. Whatever the DEI jig was, I don't know if Matt Walsh's movie may have just made the whole thing ridiculous now, but they're firing them. They're firing like 2,000-3,000 producers, writers, like the whole thing that Marvel hired.
Yeah, I don't know. It definitely seems like there's a shift in the dynamic all of a sudden. I don't know what it was, but it's almost like people have gotten fed up with all this like craziness, and it's just, I don't know, something's changing. You can see it, you can feel it in the air. Something's changing.
And it's so unfortunate. I really feel for people who are like, people of color who've like worked their asses off and became really successful in their careers. Like if you're one of those people and you genuinely feel like you've made it despite the odds being against you, if you're one of those people and you just see this like big DEI push that's happened, all that's done is discredited you as a person in your industry. Because now someone sees you, they don't go, this guy earned it. There's that element in your mind where you're like, was he only hired because he's of that skin color? And that's the worst thing about DEI. They've completely like invalidated all the people of color who've become successful before this nonsense happened, and you've almost like pitied them, and you've like made it easier for them, and it's just like ruined their accomplishments almost. You'd be absolutely pissed if you were like a black doctor who became a doctor before the DI push, and now everyone looks at you and goes, "Is this guy actually good, or is he just like been hired to fill a quota?" Do you know what I mean? Like you've like ruined it for the people who've made it before this.
Yeah, it is wild to think that was like a solution that they were. I don't know. I don't even know what the fuck the point of it is.
Well, they said it was all about seeing people. Like, you had to see that. The idea was that if you're like a young black kids could see more black doctors, they could see more black politicians, black leaders. It was kind of like you'd fix the inequality through representation.
Maybe there is some of that truth to that though, to some extent. Like maybe there is some truth to that. I don't know. I'm not an expert on that or anything.
We've tried it, and I don't think it's worked. And I said to you last time when we did this one as well that like they had the one bit of data that we do have is that when they drop the SAT requirements for people of color to enter, like I think it was Harvard, the SAT score for that group dropped to what they leveled it to. So it's almost like people will adapt to the circumstances that they're in. If you make it easier for certain people to get certain things, they'll only become as good as they need to be to get that thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. You have like paces when you're running a marathon, and if you stick with those paces, you're generally more likely to perform better overall than if you stick with the group behind. You'll actually slow down to match that group. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, the psychological effects at play, and that's why this old DI push, like, it just hasn't worked because... And it's the same reason why I think like communism and socialism fell apart as well. It's like this utopian idea that's the bedrock foundation for it, but no understanding of human psychology, no understanding of the bad parts of human psychology. You know, if you give someone power over someone else, they most likely abuse it. There's all these sort of things that like utopian people don't ever acknowledge.
Is there a spot where democracy hasn't worked? Like some people will say it's not working here now, but like overall compared to communism and socialism, is there a spot where you could say, yeah, democracy is fucked. This is terrible. Yeah.
Well, it's not necessarily democracy as much as it's like capitalism. Like capitalism has done more to lift people out of poverty than any other.
So am I misconstruing democracy and capitalism and socialism?
Yeah, because democracy is all about like, the voting system. You have like a republic. There's the many different types of democracies that we have. The one that we have is meant to be like you vote locally, and then there's like steps out in terms of like the hierarchy of government. You have your local council that you vote for, then you have your state that you vote for, then you have your federal. If you've ever seen a federal election, it's like as WA we vote in the seats that we have, and then they go to the federal, like they sit in the federal seats as well. So it's all like representative. We only vote in WA, we get our representatives, and they go to like a bigger group, and who has the majority in that group passes legislation. It's representative democracy is basically what we have.
Right, so democracy, and then explain socialism now.
Well, so socialism, I think the idea, as far as I understand it, and I've been reading quite a lot about it, the idea for socialism is that, I think the idea between socialism and socialism is that the government controls all the business and distributes resources out. So it's full control. There's no free market at all. There's no free market capitalism. There's no individual property or land. Everything's attributed and allocated by the government. So I think that's what, you had Germany was supposed to. Nazi stands for National Socialist Party. That's what the word was in there. Huh. So that's the idea, is that the government has full control over it. So some people say they want democratic socialism, which is that the government still does have way more control against. The fundamental distinction is individual property and individual rights, or collective property, collective rights.
Yeah, so I shouldn't have compared democracy to socialism.
Yeah.
It's
capitalism.
What's the counter to democracy is
fascism or authoritarianism. Autocracy, they call it. So there's democracy, which is from the people, or autocracy, which is from a smaller group decides everything.
Yeah, and then what about if you're the king or queen, right? So it's monarchy, democracy, and autocracy, and then you have capitalism, socialism,
and fascism.
Yeah. So, and then communism. Communism as well.
I say communism, and it's weird as well, like they're very similar, but the fundamental thing between like communism, socialism, fascism is a bit different. Put fascism to one side, but communism and socialism, it was all about collective outweighs individual. And it was all based on the writings of like Karl Marx and these other people that had these utopian ideas of how perfect the world could be if we just stopped corruption, stopped greed, we took money from the people who had too much and we gave it to people who didn't have enough. The idea was that it should torment us in our sleep to have someone be a millionaire while someone can't feed themselves. That should torment the soul of every person. That is the biggest injustice in the world that needs to be resolved. How can someone have so much and someone else have so little? That was the idea. But the problem was, what they didn't realize is if you try to adopt that sort of system into your governance, well, whoever becomes in charge of it is just as corruptible and just as greedy and just as capable of horrific actions against others as a billionaire was. Like, you don't fix the human soul just by giving more power to someone else. So what you had was, like, the people who ended up running the socialist government became just as corrupt. They stole money left, right, and center. It was exactly the same as the abuse they saw that the billionaire had against a peasant. It was the same thing now that the government had against the people.
Yeah, so say like socialism, right? Socialism wants to give, what is it, like that money? You just get money for nothing. What is that? That's
UBI, we call it, Universal Basic Income. Yeah. We got quite a lot of heat when we discussed that, because utopian ideals, a lot of people on the left who think they can fix the world if they just make it in their image, and that's like the fundamental fallacy towards socialism. All the bad things that happened in the 19th century came from someone thinking that if only they got all the power, they could fix all the problems. Didn't work. It never worked. Like, as much as like it sucks to say it, that the only way you can make society work the best is to leave everyone the fuck alone. Don't think that your ideas are so good that you can force someone to live the way you want. That's where all the troubles are. Like, you always have to like let people be individuals, and like, you know, in terms of how much someone else has authority over you, should be as minimal as possible. Give power back to people as individuals, and you're less likely to have atrocities on a massive scale. The more you put authority into a group of people against everyone else, the more abuses you're going to see. We saw that in Germany, we saw that in Russia, we saw it in Cambodia, we saw it in Venezuela. Everywhere that they tried these things, mass murder across the board, mass starvation. They had the killing fields in Cambodia, I think it was, where the guy had this, the socialist communist leader there, I think it was communism there, the leader had this genius idea that they should just force all the people who live in the cities to go out into the farms. If everyone's a farmer, we're going to have heaps of food. And the amount of people that died in the fields there, they killed millions of people in the population. They called it the killing fields. They forced people out of offices and people who worked in like bureaucracy to go farm. They didn't know how to farm. They had mass starvations, deaths across the board.
Yeah, it's wild, eh? That's pretty crazy. Yeah. But like with the UBI, like other people, like I don't even know how we got into this topic, but I was like, I remember I heard something recently. It was like, if you do universal basic income, where you like distribute the money out to everyone, it's just going to end up in the pockets of the people that know how to make money anyways. So like if you give people money, they're just going to spend it, and it's going to end up exactly in the same pockets of the people that always could generate that much wealth anyways.
It's a really unfortunate thing, I think, that like we haven't as a society or as like a species, I think, resolved fundamentally like what our purpose is in life. Is there a purpose? Should there be? Should all the things you want be given to you all the time and you should just be at leisure? Like, is that the answer? Do we think that makes life perfect? I'll show you heaps of trust fund babies and nepotism babies who, you know, live terrible, terrible lives because they feel like there's no purpose to them. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But when it comes to like UBI, it's kind of like what we have now times 1,000. So right now you already feel like, to some extent, anyone listening to this as well, like if you work and you're quite successful and you pay a lot of taxes, you already have that feeling that your taxes are being collected, harvested, and they're being redistributed to people who just don't want to work. There is an element of that. Everyone who says that that's not happening, the money only goes to people who need it, is completely asleep. They don't understand what is really happening with our like social benefit system and how it gets abused in Western countries. It's getting abused. I guarantee you there's people who could be working who are collecting Centrelink checks right this very second. So you already have that. So what happens when you start feeling like, well, why do I bother working? The harder I work, the more they take and give to someone else. Why don't I just stop as well? If I stop working, I'll get the UBI too. So how do you incentivize someone to do more than they need to if you take away monetary gain? And that's why capitalism works so well. That's why individual property and individual rights work so well. And why capitalism works so well. Because it's like you're incentivized to do as best as you can because it benefits you. That's the best motivation you can have. It benefits you and your family and the people that you love. Brilliant. No worries. I'll wake up at 4 a.m. if I have to. But if you tell me that no matter how hard I work, all of that's just going to go to the government, to some guy I don't know, who I've never met, and then they'll decide how my money gets spent. How do you think I'm going to start working? Bare fucking minimum.
Yeah,
And
no
that's
joke.
what happened everywhere. And then they farmers stop producing enough food because what the fuck's the point? I make the food, they come and take it. Then there was mass starvations. Millions and millions of people died from the communist revolution because of that very reason. They took away the incentive for someone to produce something because they get no benefit out of it. And that's why individualism is the way, I think. And the more I learn about the 19th century, the more convinced of that I am. Individual rights. Stop taxing me. Taxation is theft. I'm going to put it on this goddamn wall, Louis. It is, man. It is. It doesn't incentivize you to work harder because you just get slammed on the taxes. And then some government that I didn't even fucking elect. I only elect the front man of the government. I didn't elect any of the fucking bureaucrats who are on 100+ K a year making decisions on my behalf. I don't even know their names. Yet they're spending my money how they see fit. Corruption left, right, and center. I was going to talk about the ombudsman.
Yeah. Tell me about this ombudsman thing.
So basically, I think it was $180,000 he stole from like the head of the ombudsman as well. I think he's resigned now. If you can look into this as well. But that's meant to be like the organization that we pay taxes in for. That's meant to protect the worker. It's meant to be the anti-corruption organization that's corrupt and stealing money. You couldn't ask for a more perfect, emblematic example of why bureaucracy doesn't work the way we have it. The organization that's meant to protect against corruption was stealing money.
Where was this guy? Was he?
I think ombudsman's like a federal. It's a federal body.
Yeah, but there's ombudsmans for different things, right? Like,
but there's an overall broad-based one that makes like worker regulation and law. It's basically there. It's meant to be like corporations versus individuals. It's meant to help the worker.
Right. Okay.
If you ever feel like you're being like abused, if you have like, let's say your boss is making you work hours, but he's not paying you for them, and you think, oh, that's not right. Who do you go to? You'd go to the ombudsman. That's the person. That's the body, the corporate body that's meant to represent and protect you and shield you from the corruption of, the capitalists. And the guy who was leading it was stealing money.
How much do ombudsmen make? Do you know?
It's a pro-bureaucratic party. We can actually look that up if you have it on here. Like, what's the salary of ombudsman representative? I'd love to see that.
Like, I've never
guarantee you close to 100K a year.
100K, you reckon?
Easy in Australia. If you work for the ombudsman, you got ombudsman salary.
Let's see here what we got.
Let's see what we have.
I'll bring this over here.
There's a salary package there. Okay, so
let's just say for Perth.
All right, so that's showing. Go up to the top there. So they get that's the EMP officer. So maybe go back out. You have to it would be hard to find something in here. They have to be advertising it. But you want to just find deputy ombudsman.
Okay, let's have a look here.
What is the role?
Can't seem to see any
remuneration. Scroll up. That's it. Their remuneration.
Oh, there.
Yeah. They're not wanting to stay, are they?
Independently, yeah, interesting.
Right, see, we just find this. I'm really curious now. Oh, here, salaries range. Salaries range from 66,000 per year to 100 and so the director, I'm pretty sure, was the guy who was stealing. He's already on $140,000 a year.
135K.
And he stole up to $180,000. I think is what I saw on like travel expenses and other sort of ways. He was stealing the money.
So that's 4 salaries reported. So average salary
Jesus
is $135,000. So that's a pretty good wicket to be fair. It's good enough. I don't know how much work is involved.
Yeah. So this guy it was a WA ombudsman. Chris Field resigned after Corruption and Crime Commission found him guilty of embezzling money. So this is the actual story here. No, Jesus Christ. He stole $200,000 in just 1 year.
Dude,
he stole more than $200,000 in just 1 calendar year.
How did you think he was going to get away with that, though?
He was.
I just don't know how.
He was getting away with it for ages.
How many years?
For years and years and years. That's the thing. Like, he was stealing for a very long time. Jesus Christ. Mark McGowan and Pointy as well. If we can just give a nice shout out to the
oh really
state daddy over here hiring left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. So yeah, $200,000 in 2023 to 2024 he stole. Bloody hell.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me that people do it. Like, you got to be pretty ballsy to do that.
I don't know what, like,
Yeah.
if he's already making that much money as well. But what pisses me off is, like, they say, oh, he stole taxpayer money by embezzling $200,000. And I sit here and go, his whole salary is taxpayer money. He stole more than that. What was his hourly rate? That was him also stealing, because he probably wasn't doing his job properly in the first
Probably,
place.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating to think that the best way to run a government is just to like leech money off as many people as possible, make a big fund out of it, and then divvy it out. Is one of the most like pigs at the trough type of mentality things I can possibly think of. Of course it's going to be corruptible, man. Of course, because it's not their money.
But what do you expect to do if there isn't something like that?
There should be smaller government. Make that trough smaller, man. There should be much
There
more
is small
stringent
government though. There's local,
we have a
and there's
massive
state,
government.
and there's federal.
Yeah, but the actual bureaucratic body that we have is as big as it's ever been. We've got more laws. We were talking about it before as well. There's laws about every single thing you can think of. Anytime there's a law, there's a salary for someone to enforce it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's people who actually produce, and there's people who get paid from what has been produced. And that's what gets me. It's like, it's not money that they've earned. It's money that they've collected through force as well. Because if you don't pay your taxes, you go to prison. So there's like a element of force involved for them to siphon the money away from you. And then you're helpless in how they spend it.
I think
could just
you need
say,
tax though, right? I think you need tax. You can't not have tax. Tax is a necessity.
well, I like to think that Elon Musk fired 80% of Twitter staff and the company still runs. There's actually a ratio. I think they literally say it's about, I think, one fifth of workers do 80% of the work. No matter where you go, as soon as there's actually a law about this, it's like a psychological experiment that's been established multiple times over that any company, if you have 100 people who work at a company, 20 of them will do 80% of the work. If you have 1,000 people, 200 will do 80% of the work. No matter where you go, it's called the 1/5 law. There's actually a law that I'd love to actually find and put like a link on for people to find this. But it's an actually established psychological phenomenon that's just how people distribute tasks. You get the overachievers, the people who do most of the work. It's about 20%. So if you apply it to the government and you just go, what's the federal budget? What's the federal budget to run the government right now in Australia? What do you reckon it is?
Don't know. What is it? What is the federal budget?
Billions and billions of dollars. Billions of dollars. If you're telling me every one of the people who works for the federal, state, or local government is 100% necessary and needed, not a chance. Not a chance.
But you could say that even within your own company, not everyone is
For
needed,
sure, yeah.
right?
But at the very least, when you work in a private company, there's a profit motive, a profit incentive, where it stings you. It hurts to have passengers in a private company. Anyone who tries to make money as a business knows how painful it is to have a passenger on board, someone who's not actually contributing. You see it on the bottom line straight away because it's like it's their salary you have to account for and their lack of contribution to profit that you have to account for. It stings you as a company immediately. As a government, doesn't sting shit. It's actually a good thing. You can ask for a bigger budget next year because we need it. We couldn't have accomplished the task of what we have.
Hang on a second though, but in the private sector, if you can see someone is hurting your bottom line, then you can get rid of them, right?
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't always happen though.
It doesn't always happen, but at the very least that the incentive is right. Do you know what I mean? The incentive in the private industry is to have profitable people who make you money. They make you money as the business owner. You pay them more out of that money. There's a very good transaction that's happening there. It's your value you've created, and you get paid out of a proportion of the value you created. That's a very good system. It's a very good system because it incentivizes you to try to make as much money as you can because you get paid more. What I'm saying is the system in the government is completely flipped on its head because it's not like that at all. In fact, in the government, it's the opposite. In the government, if you solve all the problems, you lose all the funding.
But hang on a second. What about like the police force, right? Like I get what you're saying about there's jobs that you don't need and there's money that's being wasted and blah blah blah. That happens in everything, right? But let's say the police force doing revenue raising for, you know, if you're driving too fast, you get a speeding fine. Blah,
so you
blah,
can
blah.
buy more pool tables for their break rooms.
Yeah, or you can get a whole bunch of new jets that you can fly around your and shit
or
like
a
that.
tank.
Or a tank, whatever you need. It's just, to me, that is like blatant revenue raising. But that's what happens when you put an incentive in to, say, the police force. So, if you guys get this many people, you sting them for fines, then we can get a whole set of new cars. We can get a whole new fleet of airplanes that get us around. So we've reduced our fly time for 6 hours down to an hour now. So there is an incentive there, right? So they can get to disasters or whatever way faster. But the way that they did that, I assume, is through revenue raising by getting people that are speeding, blah, blah. And then did you see the thing where they just released an article saying that they're trialing reducing the rural roads down to like, I don't know, 70 kilometers
Yeah, I
the
saw
whole
that.
way or something like that. So what do you think they're going to do? They reduce it down to 70, which means they're going to put up cameras everywhere else. So if you're speeding over that, because it's going to take you forever to get somewhere now, they're just going to make more revenue from that. What are your thoughts on that side of things?
That's why I think it's a bit trickier when it comes to like police. I'm pretty supportive of police in general. I think that's one of the few things the government's supposed to do. Is like you're supposed to assist people as a government to protect their individual rights.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that without a strong police force.
Sure.
Because you need that, right? You can't have people. If you're a business owner and you have people breaking in and stealing from you, you need the police. That's what one thing you need the federal government to do is to stop people from infringing on your rights.
You need police, yeah.
You need police, 100%. When it comes to the speeding cameras and stuff like that, I'm someone who gets stung quite a lot myself. Is what I'm wrong. I have a lot of, ammunition to draw from to be upset about this, but at the same time, it's undeniable how gruesome and horrific car crashes are for a lot of police officers and have to go to. Like, and people say that, oh, speed cameras don't stop car crashes, but at the same time, if you didn't have any speed cameras, we all know fucking idiots who hoon around like mad. We all see them. Everyone knows when you're driving on the road, you'll see that guy in like a fucking, I don't know what car's the most hoonable car possible, but you see those people who go out there and they absolutely drive like maniacs, endangering themselves, endangering other people. I want those people to get punished for that. I would love for those people to get arrested or fined or all those things. I think that's a good thing.
Mm.
And if you look at like where fatal crashes happen as well, it is on those rural roads, man. It really is. That's where a lot, especially on the trip from like Perth to Mandurah, if you look at the fatal crashes, the density hotspot of that road is brutal, man. It's one of the worst roads for fatalities that we have, is that trip from north to south along the coast there. It's really, and that's where they're talking about slowing down the speed. I don't think that's going to be a bad thing, to be honest. I think it might take people 30 more minutes to get where they need to go, but if that can even reduce that by half, and the amount of maimings and deaths you could prevent, I'd say it's probably worthwhile.
Yeah,
if that's why they're doing it.
But yeah, like
that's
what
the
I'm saying,
steel man for them.
Let's say take out the rural roads part of things, right? You're incentivizing people to put up speed cameras to catch people speeding so you can raise revenue. And it's masked under the idea of slowing people down.
Yeah. What I would love to see is if they just made it like up to 10 Ks is fine. Because I think that's where it's like you could literally just be overtaking someone and driving in a safe manner. Sometimes you're behind someone you don't like being behind. They're driving erratic. They're swerving. They're being a fuckhead. You can tell that they're on their phone and you're like, all right, if I just overtake this guy, speed a tiny little bit, I can get myself into a safe, empty part of the road where it's safer for everyone. And that's what I don't like, is that when they have that speed camera there and all you're doing is overtaking, and then you get smacked with a fucking revenue raising fine. I hate that. And all the fines I've ever gotten, because I do a lot of like rural driving, is when I have to overtake a fucking truck on a one-way road. If I stay behind the truck, it's flicking up rocks and cracking my windshield, so I need to go around that truck. If I go around it, I'm facing oncoming traffic. So you best believe I'm going to go around that truck as fast as I humanly can so I can get back into the right lane and not get pincered between two trucks, both going 100 k's an hour. Like that, and I that's why they put up speed signs around there when you're like, right in the overtaking area where it's the straightest bit of the road, where it's the safest bit to overtake a truck, they put a speed camera there. I've seen that.
Yeah,
that really pissed
that's
me
my
off.
point, right? So it's like they're reducing the speed limit so that you get stuck behind these cars anyway, because whoever's on the road is going to always drive slower. There's always someone that's driving slower. So it means you're going to get stuck behind them, which means that you're going to try and overtake them, which means you're going to take more risk to get in front of them, which means that there's either the chance that you hit someone on the other side or you get stung by a speed camera doing over the speed limit because you're trying to get to your destination faster.
There's no win.
So,
There's no win at all. But one thing I do want to talk about this one, let's just because I realized what we call the title as well. We haven't even touched on it yet either.
Oh yeah, go on then.
Yeah, so I was telling you about before the James W.S. telescope. They call it JWST. Was that sorry, but is that chat active or is it still on episode 2 on there?
Oh, that's interesting. I think it is probably. I think it is working.
Need
Just
to
let me
load that one
double
up
check.
again.
I'll load it up, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it just hasn't.
Uh,
It hasn't
Update
updated
on there?
that actually.
Easy.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure if because I was looking at X just then, and I wasn't sure if it was actually playing the video. Where I feel like last time it was
Video was
actually
live?
showing it, but yeah. See,
Mm.
every time I try and boot this up, it's just doing this weird thing. But
Oh, well, there you go. That's a bit different now.
new events live.
Open chat.
What's this about?
You're not sure if they've changed maybe how that works. Let me see if I can just find an example of it on mine so I can at least verify that it is working for us.
Oh, if you just post, but see, like on X, I don't know. It says live, but then it's like frozen on like a particular. Is your screen frozen as well?
Yeah, it is.
What if I turn it off and then start it up again?
Yeah, it worked.
Oh, so that's you. But
Yeah.
but is the X, is it frozen?
Yeah, I can actually see the video itself. It keeps freezing on the images I open it.
I'm just gonna stop it
Yeah.
and then I'll boot it back up.
Yeah, easy.
Let's see if that does it. Because it's a bit strange.
Yeah, it did do that last time.
No, it didn't do that last time. But I think there's someone tuning in on Twitch as well. So hello to whoever that is. But yeah, I just booted it back up. But
Easy.
I'm not really sure. It's very detrimental streaming sometimes.
It really is. That's what we get the clips out of it anyway, which is the main thing. I think that's
Yeah, see, it's doing this.
It just freezes up on like a straight image each time.
But
I
it
try
didn't
open
used to do that, did it?
Yeah, it didn't a lot last time. We were fine. So I'm not too
Hmm.
sure what the go is there.
And I think last time, see, it went full screen like that. Where now it's doing like this weird.
Oh, there you go. This looks it's doing the same thing again.
See, but now it's doing like a link or something like that. Oh, maybe you have to click it for it to be viewable.
Yeah, no, it's so weird. It's not.
Oh no, it is live there. So if you click it,
So if you do that, you don't actually. Okay, there you go.
kind of weird though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit strange. All right, easy.
Anyways.
But what I was going to talk to you about in this episode as well, which is, I don't know, it might get you excited. It might give you the same feeling that we had last time we talked about UFOs in here, which is like the same thing I kind of share. You know, it always seems like disclosure might happen, then it never progresses anywhere. And I'm sure UFO enthusiasts have probably felt that way for like 50 years.
What's this for?
So for just aliens, like, do we know if aliens exist? Do we have confirmation for it? Always seems like we like flirt with it right at the end, and then nothing happens.
Yeah.
Like Pentagon came out, said we had off-world vehicles recovered.
Hmm.
Dude, that was like 9 months ago. Nothing since then. Nothing since then. But the James W.S. telescope, the JWST is what it's called. Do you know much about that one at all?
Well, yeah, I know that we have this like super fancy telescope now. It's sort of sitting in this gravitational area where they can use it to look at stars that we otherwise would not have been able to do, right?
I'd say it's one of like the most engineering marvels that we've probably created. Like I thought it was the coolest thing when learning about how it works, all the technology that went into this thing. It's bloody incredible. So basically, the only way this thing can function, because it works as like a long-range infrared telescope, any sort of like heat pollution that comes into it from anywhere else will completely ruin the image that it gets. So it has this like crazy sun shield that unfolds itself and blocks out all the sun, and then it has like this very clever cooling system that keeps the sensor at absolute zero. Despite this thing being on, like, they call it the Lagrange point, it is so far away from Earth right now that if anything would go wrong with this thing, we can't get out there to fix it. It's literally that far away. And it's got just like a infinite lifespan of cooling itself for this clever like reactor thing that they made on it. This cooling system, the cryo cooler they call it. But basically this thing can see through infrared. What we want to really know when we're trying to see if there's aliens somewhere is we want to be able to get let's say a habitable planet that's transecting around its sun, and let's say we look at it. So what we should be able to see, we can see the star, and we can see a little bit of dip in luminosity as the planet comes across it. That's how we tell that it has a planet there. Right? You see a little bit of dip in the sun. If we would get a really sensitive instrument to look at it, we'd be able to tell what sort of atmosphere is the sunlight passing through. You know, is there any oxygen absorbing some of the photons? Is there any carbon dioxide, methane? We could tell all those things. We could tell if the planet's habitable, no matter how far away it is, no matter how dim the sun is that planet orbits around. Because right now, all we can see is these really big gas giants. And we think that they actually are less likely to have that many habitable planets. We think that they're the most infrequent type of star is the gas giant. The most common type of star is the red dwarf. They're everywhere. Everywhere we look. Not only are they most common, they're the most stable. They never send out big solar flares that can wipe out a freaking life form, they are the actual perfect star to have life, is a red dwarf. It's actually strange that we're not around one ourselves, because our sun is fucking volatile as all fuck. Our sun is going to kill us in a billion years. We know that. It's expanding. The gas is going. It's going to supernova. Like we have a limited amount of time here. Red dwarfs can survive for trillions of years with no issues. Problem is, every telescope we have until now is too weak to actually detect if there is a red dwarf there and if there's planets around it. But the JWST can do that. And now, this is where it gets really interesting. We have Alpha Centauri. Does that ring a bell to you at all?
I've heard it. Yeah,
Do you know where you've heard it from?
I don't know.
Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar. Okay,
That's where he said that the aliens come from. It's also the closest star system to us. It's about 4 light years away. It's incredibly close compared to anything else that we have. You know, what we knew about Alpha Centauri was that there were 2 big stars that orbited each other. They were really bright. We could see them. You know what we know now, thanks to this new telescope? We know that there's a red dwarf that's part of that system as well. And we know around that red dwarf is a habitable planet. So the closest star system to us has a very good candidate for life. Also happens to be the star system that 30, 40 years ago Bob Lazar said these aliens came from, at a time where we didn't even think there was any livable planets there. So this whole idea, which is like, oh, he was just lying. What are the odds, man? What are the odds now that we see there actually is a habitable planet there? So it's orbiting around the red dwarf star. Now that we're at the JWST, we can actually look at it, see what that has an atmosphere, that has liquid water, has carbon dioxide, might have oxygen. We can see all those things. So I was very excited when this telescope went out because I knew that that's what it's for. It's to find these things. So that's one aspect of it. Do you know of the Starshot Initiative? I think it was called Starshot Breakthrough Initiative. Really, really cool concept. So now that they know there's this habitable planet so close to us, it's only 4 light years away, they're thinking, well, how do we send something there? How do we send a probe there? How can we get there? Unfortunately, 4 light years is still a long, long way away with our current rockets that we send. 40,000 years or so for a rocket to get there. But what they want to do, and this is really, really cool, right? They want to make something called a star sail, or light sail, if you will. So it's going to be like 1 or 2 atoms across. Imagine this massive, massive kite. 1 or 2 atoms across that we can launch out to outer space. Inside the kite, right in the middle, there will be a tiny little chip that has a camera. That's it. It has to weigh 1 gram, if that. This whole thing has to weigh so little. They're going to launch it. They're going to get a big laser on Earth, and they're going to fire a laser at this thing. And it'll be able to accelerate it to about 20 or 30% the speed of light. So this thing can get there in about 10 to 12 years. And they're going to do it. And it's going to take photos of it. It won't be able to slow down because it's going to literally accelerate that much. It's going to just zip right through, snap a few pics. Not sure how they're going to get those pics back to us. That might be a problem as well. Hopefully they can send them through and only take 4 years to come back because we can send radio signals at the speed of light, hopefully. But they want to take photographs of this planet.
How big is this thing going to be? And they're going to shoot a laser at it. Isn't it going to destroy it or something like that?
Well, the thing is, it will just absorb the light and use it as a light cell. Photons, and we don't observe it because we're such big creatures, but basically whenever light's shining at you, that light as it hits you, it's actually pushing you away very, very slightly. You can't feel it because you weigh so much. But if you have this nano sail, it will feel the light. The light, same way a breeze moves a yacht, it will be what's happening here, but with a laser beam. And I think that's just the coolest fucking thing. And they're working on this. It's going to get launched hopefully sometime soon. But we'll be able to get a few photos of this, supposedly what Bob Lazar said is where the aliens come from. At least one set of aliens come from here.
Dude,
we'll
it's so long, so far away though.
12
years.
I know.
We're going to be, we'll be like 42, 43 by then, depending on when they send it.
How cool would it be if the aliens are there and they just see this thing fly past, this weird ass human contraption thing made of it. They would just be like, oh fuck, there's some smart apes over there. Holy crap, look at this.
Well, hang on a second. If you believe Bob Lazar's story, they already know we're here, right? So, I don't know.
Let's say if they weren't here, though, which Bob Lazar's story is a whole other thing, but this one here, that's just so fascinating to me that we're going to build this thing and send it out there. And if there was some living life there, intelligent life, and it just sees us send it, it would just be so fascinating for them. They'd be like, look at this fucking weird kite these apes have sent us.
Yeah, well, assuming they even notice it, right? I mean...
It will zip past that quickly. It'll have to be almost impossible for them to notice, I think, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because there'll be only a few particles across. But the main reason I want to bring this story up, there are rumors, and these are definitely just rumors up to now. There's rumors of classified briefings and all the rest. It's that apparently the James WST detected a lifelike planet, a habitable planet, not too far away. I think it's like 20 light years away, something like that. But apparently it detected moving objects coming from there. And like an asteroid belt type of thing. But these objects changed course once observed and now are heading towards Earth. Now that's apparently... Like, people don't know how long it's going to take to get here, whether it's going to be a few weeks or a few years. No one knows how far it's traveling. But they've observed something and then it changed trajectory. That's the rumor. And that's what's going around. There's been briefings that, that's a sign of intelligent life. We were observing something. Apparently it's 10 or 12 objects, each the size of a city. And they saw it move. Like, it changed course and now it's tracking towards us.
I'm going to have to look into this because
You know,
I did hear some
rumors.
stuff about it, but I don't know. But this is the thing is Stephen Hawking was like, if we have the ability to send out and say that we're here, I'm not sure if that's actually a good idea because
So
you
Stephen
don't know what
Hawking
you're going to
said
bring
that. It was
across.
Carl Sagan as well. There's actually quite a few theories that are really cool. There's the dark forest hypothesis, which is basically, let's say you were exploring a dark forest. Right? You didn't know what else was out there. You don't have any threats. Do you walk through there, stomping your feet around and yelling? Probably not. You have no idea what's listening to you. And it's a bit of that where we don't know. Like, we don't know what the hell's out there. We don't know if there's something out there that enslaves biological organisms. We don't know anything.
Yeah, but we also don't know what capabilities we have that are just hidden away as well, right? Maybe they're getting so brazen because they're like, nah, we got this like flying saucer now that'll explode some shit out of the air. Like, maybe they have that and they're just sort of like, no, that's okay. Like, we'll see what they've got. Bring them along. Like, we've reverse engineered the technology and we've got some crazy shit too.
It could be. Well, I love, and one of my favorite things, we talked about it back in the old channel that we used to have here, but like the A.W.S.O message, the one that in the crop circle, like 24, 25 years later, popped up a response to like a long forgotten, like all the people who worked on that A.W.S.O message were dead by the time the response came there. But people say that some teenagers just did that. You know the one we went through where they actually in binary code imprinted on the crops nearby the response?
I still don't know if I believe that shit. It's actually insane when you look at it, but it's just so hard to fathom that they would come and put messages in the crops.
No one took credit, bro. No one took credit to this day.
Yeah, but no one took credit about fucking Bitcoin either, bro.
Yeah.
You know,
it's about that, but also let's say this A.W.S.O one didn't even become a big thing in pop culture. I had to dig that up. It got forgotten. That's what gets me about it. Like, there's no psyop involved. The psyop was for us to all forget it. The psyop was to never investigate in the first place. We didn't take any fucking samples of the crops underneath that to see how they were pressed down. They could have done a lot more. Like, that was one of the most credible examples. Problem with all crop circles is that they only last for the season until the crops are harvested. So that was gone. It's forgotten, man. No one knows about that. You have to really be into this stuff to even hear about it. So it's like, if someone faked it, never claimed it, nothing ever came off the fakery, why was it faked?
Well, hang on a second. What about that guy that fucking put the lead shoes on and that looked like the penguins? Like the penguin feet, and he was like walking around the beach and shit, and people were like saying there was reports of a giant penguin and stuff, and it came like fucking 20 years later. He's like, dude, that was me. These are the fucking shoes I used.
Or the guy who dug the perfect circle and then in the sand, and then the news report came afterwards, a strange meteor hits the beach.
Oh, really?
And the guy had a video on TikTok of him digging the hole.
What the fuck, dude? I didn't
shit
even
like
know
that
about
happens all the time.
So this is the thing, though. It's like you say, like, why, who would do this, blah, blah, blah. But then we literally have people that have come out 20 years later saying, yeah, I was just fucking with
But what
people.
I love about that is 2001 that the response came in.
Yeah, but that
and
guy
that
with the shoes
response was the perfect. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that response was the perfect binary answer to what we sent. What we sent, which was an obscure SETI experiment that we did in the 70s, which they didn't even think was going out to anyone, like nothing, and it went dead for was close to a generation. 25 years is easy for someone from birth to become an adult. This thing just nothing ever came of it. They shut the whole program down. They stopped sending messages after this. And then in the crop fields right nearby where the now defunct telescope sits, which stopped broadcasting, it was abandoned. Next to it, like almost as if in perfect response to it, in the exact same binary code we sent out. One, you have to be really good at binary. You have to really, really be across what we sent. You have to be incredibly imaginative. And second, you have to execute into a crop for one season only the perfect response. I can't fathom why.
It almost sounds like it's someone that's really invested in that particular story that might want to fake or go, oh, this was really cool. We never got a response. Yeah. Perhaps the best, coolest little hoax that we could do is to take something that happened 20 years ago that people forgot about and then put something in the crops there, and it will make story because that response is something that people completely forgot about, and the fact that something came back all these years later, it would be a really cool hoax.
But then they let it go.
Let what go?
They let the whole thing go because it's not a big thing anymore. It's not in pop culture. There's nothing good happened about it, and that's what gets me. It's like, let's say you sit there and you plan this and you go, this would be the perfect psyop. My God, we could. The fact
But
that
it's not a
everyone just went,
psyop. Hang on a second. You're saying it's a
No,
psyop.
no,
I
the
think it's
person
just
who did it.
the first person that
Yeah.
did it thought, and this might be a really cool hoax, right?
Yeah.
And then say it didn't hit how they thought, and then someone that was really invested in the original story thought, you know what, that actually was pretty cool. I am going to hoax a response.
Yeah.
That's the next logical step.
So, when I say psyop, what I mean is I don't mean like psychological operation as if the government's doing it. I mean like that those hoaxers were like, I want to implant into the psyche that that aliens exist. That's what they wanted to influence the psyche of the population with, like, oh, I can give the perfect response. Maybe there's an element of that. But let's say the other side of the fence here, which is, let's say that it is real. There are UFOs here. They are trying to communicate with us. Our government's hiding it from us. Let's say that is what's happening, which I'd say, like, let's be honest, if aliens were real, the US government would hide it because they want to reverse engineer technology. They'd also be worried about how people would freak out if they knew there was a hyper powerful different life form out there. Guaranteed, right? That's the most like Occam's razor. If they do exist, it would be hidden. If they do exist and wanted to communicate, how would they do it? Well, I think a great way to do it, if they're sending drones out here, would be to imprint massive messages in our food source.
Nah, I don't believe
How
that
would you
shit, eh? I think they would just openly show themselves
What if there's just drones that they have?
in the town. And just quickly, what up, Geo Nat boy? How you doing, big dog? Been ages, man. Geo is an old school viewer, bro.
Nice.
Like
How you going, man?
one of the OG subscribers. Shout out to Geo, man. It's been a long time. What have you been up to, man? It's been it might even be years since the last time I seen you. Hope you're doing well, man. Yeah, I think that's bullshit. I think that if they were going to come here, they would just openly show
What if
themselves.
they can only send drones?
Put a drone out in the fucking public square?
What if they have and the government sees it every time they do?
Nah, dude. If you're telling me
Well,
if a fucking drone came
yeah.
down in the middle of Perth City, you wouldn't have people filming it right now?
Possibly. Well, let's say this.
I just think that's bullshit, eh?
What some people will say, they'll say that they will send the drones if they did want us to be noticed and they wanted to make communication. The best place to send those drones would be to send them to the most surveilled places that we have. What are the most surveilled places that we have? Government installments. We survey through radar, LiDAR, everything you think of, we survey the night sky. If you're this alien species from really far away, they can only send 1-2 drones max a year. You can only send them to one location on that planet, and then it has to just navigate itself. You don't have full control of it. You just say to avoid capture, collect data, try and make communication. It would go to military installments because you can't miss it.
I just think this is bullshit, man.
But I'm saying hypothetically.
Hypothetically, it's bullshit. I think that I want to believe. You know, I want to believe. I'm gonna fucking call bullshit on this stuff, right? Because I used to just sit there and go, you know what? Yeah, probably right. But then I was thinking about, fuck that. Why would the Tic Tac UFO be just appearing out in the middle of the fucking water then, doing its own thing and then just disappear? If it wants to be seen, it wouldn't try and hide itself. That's my point. If something intelligent wants to be known, it's not going to fuck around and put crop circles in the grass and shit.
Well, what if it wants to be known, but it also like it's trying to go for the right channels of establishing communication?
Right.
You're in great shape out there.
2 years, yeah, brother.
It's the 10.
Oh, hold on. Let me get the full flex on, boy. Yeah, I'm in top form these days, boy. Fat Louis is well and truly gone now. But yeah, so I'm just calling bullshit on Darko's theory here, as much to my displeasure, because I feel like we always just go like, oh yeah, that's probably what it is. But I'm going to take the hard line today of call bullshit on this stuff. Because I want to believe that there's these cool stories. I want to believe that Bob Lazar is legit and he's not talking shit, right? But I just don't believe it.
I need to just establish here that my attempts here to steel man this argument for you does not mean that I believe this stuff myself. I have just as much doubt as you do.
Fair enough, yeah.
What I'm trying to theoreticize is there any logical explanation for why that is how they've tried to communicate? And I think that there is. There's heaps of reasons why they might communicate this way. You say that if they wanted to be seen, they'll be seen. I'll say to you that I can show you hundreds of thousands, countless examples of them being seen. Hundreds of thousands of examples of them being seen across every nation on the world by multiple people of every religion, type, creed, race, and everything. People have seen these things. People record them. There's messages, videos everywhere.
I don't
We
doubt
want
that.
good data. We want good evidence of them. I don't know what their machinations are or why they might appear the way that they do. But I'm trying to think to myself, like, if you wanted to leave a message for another alien species to see, how about this? Let's say we have a planet. We know it's 4 light years away. We can see that there's life on there. They're kind of primitive, but they have technology like what we are. Let's say we're a bit more advanced and we saw them out there. We want to send a message to them. Well, what if we can somehow you shoot a light beam to it? And I already said light does have a push as a pull on you, and you can just imprint a message. That's all you can do. Like a 3D printer. You can just print them a message. And you go, okay, where do we print this message? All right, well, 80% is water. 20% is like 15% is dense forest. Where can we print a message that will make sure they can see? Oh, look, they've left us these perfectly vertical stacked grains that we can just send our light beam out to push over. Let's send them messages in that.
I don't know,
They'll have to
man.
see it because they harvest it every year. They won't forget it. It's not in the middle of nowhere. It's in the center of every town. I'm just saying.
I don't know, bro.
If that was
Sounds
their
like
technology,
a stretch to me.
but if that was their technology, I could see why that's how they would imprint.
There's a lot of ifs in
Yeah.
this shit.
It has to be.
There's a
'cause
lot of
it's
there's a lot of
unknown,
ifs
bro.
and oh yeah, we'll put it in the fucking crops. If they've got that kind of technology to travel that far,
No, I'm just saying.
I'm sure they've
what
got.
if they're just using like a 3D printer type thing? All they can do is imprint light. That's all they can do. They can't get there. We can't get there. I just told you about the only way we can snap a photograph, for God's sakes, is to have this microscopic light sail zoom by. How would we let another alien technology know that we're there?
Oh, hang on a second. Why would they just not respond to the A.W.S.O message the exact same way we sent it to them? So they'd have the exact same technology. If they're able to...
Because that's the problem.
No, hang on a second. If they're able to decipher and hear the code the way we sent it, that means they have the ability to send it back the exact same way.
I'll give a perfect answer for that. What if they are? But, as we said before, our government doesn't give us that information. That is the problem. The first thing you have to accept is, and I said before, if they do exist, it makes sense that the government will hide it. And after our receiver message got sent, I remember telling you that another message got sent nearby. And that other message was, we oppose deception. Very weird message to be written in there. Almost as if they are trying to communicate. They have been for a while. They're trying to give us technology that stops us destroying our planet, but our government doesn't want to hear it.
It's a very compelling conspiracy.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I think it's a bit bullshit as well.
What I love when it comes to conspiracies and the way I treat them is not necessarily to go, I believe it or I don't believe it. It's a plausibility assessment.
I think
Right?
plausibly it's fucked.
What number would you give it?
I would say 80% chance it's bullshit.
I'll take that. That's roughly where I am as well.
Yeah.
But that 20%.
The 20%.
That 20% just keeps you just a bit.
I know. That's
There's
what
no
keeps
other
me
one
in.
I have. There's no other one I have that I could give it more than 80-20. Even Bob Lazar, I'm like 95-5. There's no other one where I'm
Yeah.
that much except for this fucking Arecibo one because it was so
I know.
so
There's just so much
obscure
bullshit
and
these days.
abstract, man.
There's so much bullshit, man.
There's so
It's
much
so
bullshit,
hard
it's
to
true.
fucking tell what is real and what isn't.
Why do we love deceiving our own people?
I don't
Why
know.
are we
It's
so
fucking
fucked
weird,
as a
eh?
species,
It's
man? I
literally
hate
cool.
it so much, man.
It is actually nuts. Gio, I hope you've been doing
Yeah.
well, by the way, man. Long time no see. 2 years is crazy amount
Yeah.
of time not to speak to someone. So
Absolutely wild. Thanks for
hope
tuning
you're
in, man.
doing
It's good to see you.
But yeah, fuck.
But we got that Calvine one's up there as well. We got that up on the shelf. Like that one I love for the same reason because
This one is crazy too.
Yeah.
Oop, fuck, there goes the
yeah,
Calvine.
it's
Sorry,
still
give me
good.
2
Still good.
seconds.
It's crashed. Okay, we got a crash landing.
My legs are fucked.
We got a crash landing of UFO.
It actually is the perfect way to bring this in. It crash landed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone can see this. Hold on, I might actually just zoom in.
Yeah.
That
It's
way
a
you can
3D model
This is-
of
oh,
one of my
that's-
favorite UFO stories. It's the
Yeah.
Calvine UFO.
This is allegedly what they saw, and it got pictured in. And it was the picture was hidden for 30 years. And
30
this is the
years.
exact model. Of
And the
what it was.
craziest thing about it being hidden was that there was a napkin drawing where one of the people who saw the real photograph before it got seized by the Ministry of Defense in the UK drew what he saw in the 1990s. And it was always known in like UFO culture that that a photograph existed. And they called it the clearest photo of a UFO ever taken. It was known, and it was known that the UK government had the copies. It had the actual. This was back in pre-digital camera days. It actually had the roll, had the film. That the UK government had that photograph, and then in 2000 and was it 2019, right in time of COVID, the photograph got released. And you've seen that now. Are we able to show people just that photograph? Because That's why I love that one.
I'll see if I can
Yeah.
bring it up quickly.
And lo and behold, it was one of the clearest photographs of a UFO you will ever see. And the debunkers, like, literally blew their load on a fucking story hypothesis off a lake when there was no lake nearby. And I love that so much.
That one there is the most interesting
Yeah.
to me, is the Calvine. If I was going to give credibility to anything, probably that one there. And the fact that they hid the photo, it matched up, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. However, what if that was like a 30-year psyop? What if it was a long game? Think about when they released it, right around the time that they were saying we have these off-world vehicles,
Yeah.
like we've got all this stuff. It took them 30 years of denying UFOs, but then blipping in little bits of
Yeah.
info, and then all of a sudden, now they want to release it. It just seems a bit too...
What gets me about that, and I love that you brought that up, is like why this drip feed start release. And there actually was a panel that were hired by NASA of theologians, religious experts, and philosophers. There was a panel that they hired, and what they asked them to do was, could they provide guidance on how to communicate to the public that aliens exist? So they actually paid money for all these people to come in, philosophers, theologians, and religious experts. This is a real thing that happened, right? And they asked them to give guidance to the government on how would we release this information, and how do you think the public would react?
Yep.
That was around 2018, 2019 that they did that.
Right.
And then, slowly after that, Calvine UFO gets released. Russia released a few of their things that they had as well. They were supposedly in the black market for a while since the Soviet Union fell. And the Pentagon started releasing those UFO videos of the Tic Tac and all the rest of those things.
Yeah.
And you think PSYOP, and I'll say maybe, but there were people working hard on disclosure for about 25 years. There were people within the US military working hard on disclosure.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. 2 seconds.
Yeah.
You're trying to talk to me and I'm just like fucking
No, you should take that.
losing my mind here. I need to get the right...
The right image shown?
I can't remember which one is our React one. Is it... it's not multicam. Is it React? It's that one there, but it's just like gone fully scuffed. Whoops.
You need to freaking organize these.
I know. What the fuck? This is...
I don't know if it's that one. Sorry, guys. Give us a second. We're just trying to show you a really cool image here as well.
Oh, there we go. So we've got that
easy,
there. And
sweet.
then we just need display capture. No.
Is it just the browser?
Yeah, I just want to put... it's window capture, and I've already got one existing. There we go.
Sweet.
I can bring that up. I just need to push this to the back so the camera is not...
Bro, I do not envy you having to like do all these fucking camera things like mid chat as well.
Oh, it's honestly such a fucking pain sometimes.
Nice.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Sweet.
What up, Burcon? How you doing, big dog? Good to see you, man. It's been ages. What's been happening? Fuck, all
mate.
the old
Everyone's
school
coming in.
fellas are coming back.
Oh
today.
yeah.
So yeah, this is essentially the picture that
Yeah.
that we were talking about.
So the three across, which is actually the enhanced one as well.
Yeah, so that's it there, right?
Yeah, the story was basically that, they saw there's a jet plane flying around as well. I think that was corroborated. There actually was a jet that was launched from a military installment nearby, roughly at the same time, supposedly, the photograph was taken.
Right.
That was corroborated as well. The people who took these pictures immediately went to a journalist with them as well. The journalist, the only reason why these photographs got confiscated for 32 years, by the way, is because the journalist called the military just to make sure that it wasn't one of their things before he published the story, because he was worried that it was some top secret military installment.
Yeah.
So he just called them and said, hey, look, I've seen this photograph. I want to write a story about it. I just want to make sure that this isn't like a UFO, no, he didn't say UFO, but
Hoax, yeah.
a secret program, right? And immediately got confiscated by the military. And the UK Department of Defense held this for 32 years.
Yeah, so some of the comments here on this article that we're looking at. So someone said, where is it? Hold on a second. Clearly a lock with an island and its reflection in the water. The jet is a guy in a rowing boat. I mean, this seems like a fucking stretch at the best of times.
That's someone taking the piss, I think. That's someone taking the piss about the debunkers.
Surely it's got to
The debunkers tried to say it was literally a reflection in a rock.
Like
guy in a rowboat.
Like, how the fuck?
Guy in a rowboat.
Like, if you think about it, like, there's the boat, right? There's the guy rowing, and this is a rock in... But, like, a rock, what the fuck is this doing?
Yeah.
Well, this is a tree.
Yeah.
And this is a fence.
And remember we found... It's also a lot of fog and clouds in the back. But remember, I found you the actual better image of the same area. Someone tracked it down because they're on a hike.
There is a better image.
Yeah, they're down there, bottom left, bottom left.
Oh,
Yeah, that one there. Yeah, that's the other angle, low angle down image of it as well. Because it took, I think, it was 3 or 4 photographs.
Yeah, so that's crazy, the difference in the photo though. Can we zoom in on that one? Oh no, close that. Yeah, so that's apparently the lock.
Yeah,
that's the guy rowing the boat. Sorry, that's the rock. This is apparently the guy rowing the boat.
And someone out there, someone out there, and actually found the exact place, matched the pegs on the fucking on the walkway and all the rest. There's different angles of this same thing. Remember I said they saw it for about 15 minutes as they were walking. So they took 3 photographs from 3 different angles, and the jet was just circling around. And apparently the story is that this thing just shot off into the sky and disappeared afterwards.
This is the most. Of all the ones, this is the most compelling to me. I think that's the most interesting one.
And that's why it's up there in hard case form. But
that's right, just here. Yeah, we have that one there.
Yeah.
That one's a really interesting case that we...
But I think that the Arecibo response is up there for me as well.
That is a real picture, by the way, Vercon. That was hidden by the government for 30 years.
Ministry of Defense held it for 32 years before release. They confiscated it from a journalist. They were never able to track down the photographers, the 2 hikers who took the photographs. Never went public. We don't know their names still. We don't know if they're still alive. But the photograph you saw just now of the old man holding the still, that was a journalist. That was a guy who adamantly swore to his whole entire life until it was in his late 70s. He swore up and down, I had this photograph. It was the clearest photograph of UFO. You have to believe me. And no one believed him. All we ever had was a sketch that he made of exactly what the photo looked like. And it was in UFO circles for 30 years. And then the photograph released, and it's 1 for 1 this guy's sketch. And he swore to it. And I think he passed away recently as well, to be honest with you. But he's he's in his late 70s, finally got the photograph back. And he framed it, he's got it. He's holding it. That's what we saw in that photograph. Let's find that closure for that. Imagine being that guy. You had the photograph in your hand. All you want to do was verify that you weren't releasing something secret to the government. And they took the photograph away and never gave it back. And he submitted FOI request after FOI request. And finally, apparently, statute of limitations wore out. They had a 30-year limitation, had to give it back. That's what they say. But I think that it matches up with NASA hiring those theologians to discuss how do we communicate to the people that aliens are real. You can search it up as well. So NASA hires theologians to discuss UFO alien release. You can Google that and find the stories about that as well.
I believe you. Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, do it. I'd love to get some more information about it, because I can't remember what happened with that, but it was because COVID happened, and COVID literally took over everyone's focus around the same time. But yeah, I think NASA hires theologians for UFO disclosure.
What was it?
UFO disclosure. I think that was roughly the story. So the Hill was the publication.
NASA hasn't hired.
But then you look down and it goes, NASA used religious experts to predict our humans. That's also just news for you as well. You got to take that on board. So let's
see what the Reddit posts say here about this.
Oh no, I never said they studied alien life. So they've done one of those classic things where they're saying it's a fake story because they've changed the title. They hired them to discuss how the public would react. The second one from the Hill, that's quite reputable as well. That's the actual one. It wasn't to study alien life. It was just to see how humans may react to aliens. Yeah.
May respond to news that intelligent life exists on other planets.
Yeah.
One religious
So
scholar
24 theologians participated in a program funded by NASA to research how humans may react to news that intelligent life exists on other planets. This happened. This panel was formed. This happened roughly before the time we start getting these releases. The Calvine UFO release was one of them. The release about, I can't remember what the other one was as well. So it's 2017, the project concluded. 2018 to 2019, we started getting drip feeds. The UFO gimbal video, the first time that popped up on the scene was around 2018. Then it got properly endorsed by the Pentagon.
Okay, but what does this other article say here now? False. NASA has not hired any theologians. Starting in. False. NASA has not hired any theologians to study the potential reaction humans would have to the discovery of alien life. NASA provided some funding In 2014, to the Center of
What the
Theological
fuck?
Inquiry
That's a
in
complete
Princeton,
contradiction.
New Jersey,
They just contradict
for
themselves
a
in their same
program
sentence.
to study societal impact of
Hold on,
finding
bro.
life beyond Earth. The NASA-funded portion of the program ended in 2017. An agency spokesperson told the Associated Press, hold on, the facts. Some social media users are sharing the claim that NASA recently hired 24 theologians to research how people might respond to the discovery of extraterrestrial life, teasing that the actions could be foreshadowing chaos.
Yeah, let's
in
find the
year
actual
to come.
facts. Let's scroll down. Let's see what
One
they're saying
tweet was
here.
shared nearly 25,000 times that made a joke that so-called NASA hires were planting the seeds for the main storyline of 2022.
Here we go. So while the agency's program did grant money to the exact same thing, frequently referred to as the CTI, to assess the societal implications of astrobiological life. Bro, that is the most contradictory.
Finish what you're saying.
So the agency, NASA, did give money to the Center of Theological Inquiry to assess the societal implications for finding astrobiological life. That is the statement. The statement is that NASA funded a study to see how we will respond to alien life.
Hang on, no, that's not what you just said.
No, it is.
You just said they funded it to find if there was biological life.
No. NASA
Read that again.
So NASA granted money to the Center of Theological Inquiry to assess the societal implications for NASA's astrobiological and search for life efforts. So the actual study that they funded was how would society react? What would be the societal implications of us discovering life? That is the claim, bro. That's one of the most nonsense fact checks I've ever heard in my life. They are arguing about semantics, but treating it as if it's a completely debunked
Let me
story.
read this thing fully here. While the agency's astrobiology program did grant money to the Center of Theological Inquiry, frequently referred to as the CTI, to assess societal implications for NASA's astrobiological and search for life efforts, NASA was not involved in the selection of researchers, according to the agency spokesperson.
Irrelevant. They funded a study.
Wait a second. The fellows worked independently through the center and were not considered NASA employees. Okay, that's whatever.
Yeah.
Further, the NASA funded parts of the research concluded 4 years ago.
2017. That's fine.
Okay. The program was also funded in part by the John Templeton Foundation.
Yeah.
Individuals who receive grant funding from NASA are not employees, advisors, or spokespersons for the agency. The NASA spokesperson told the AP in the Mail. Thus, the researchers and scholars involved with this study were not hired by NASA, but instead received funding through the CTI to conduct this work.
Hold on, can we just pause there for a second, right? So this is the first facts they bring to you to support their debunk. All they're saying is they weren't NASA employees. We never said they were. I said NASA funded a study. NASA funded the CTI who hired these people and did the study. That is true. This is such a nonsense fact check. I think this is the psyop here, bro. I've not seen anything to indicate that that was not a factual story.
Okay, so let me just finish this here quickly. So William Storer, CTI's director, told the AP that the purpose of the program was not to advise NASA, but to convene scholars in the humanities to discuss research in astrobiology, which is a scientific field that studies the potential of the universe to harbor life outside the Earth. These scholarly reflections on the societal implications of astrobiology are being published in a series of individual monographs and peer-reviewed academic journal articles by the theologians, religious scholars and philosophers, and literary scholars who participated in our research program for visiting scholars at the Center of Theological Inquiry.
There's nothing there. I've just skimmed through the rest. There's nothing there that makes this a fact check.
So this topic
is ridiculous.
Is also not new to NASA. The agency spokesperson added that NASA has sought to address similar topics, including the potential societal impact of finding life beyond Earth since 1998. Yeah. Although the CTI program has finished in 2018, it gained attention recently when one of the former fellows, Rev. Andrew Davison from the University of Cambridge, announced he was set to publish a book called Astrobiology and Christian Doctrine. Davison researches the consequences of astrobiology for Christian theology, according to Divinity School at Cambridge.
Just to summarize this, so basically the claim was that NASA recently redid a study that was first done in the 1990s when we were sending out the SETI responses and SETI messages. They refunded a study that went from 2013 to 2017 that was based on what the societal implications would be if we found life or if we communicated that life existed. That is true. That is fundamentally a true statement. What you just saw there was one of the best examples of a fake check. It is
Fake fact check.
fake fact check.
Yeah.
That was the best example because what they've done is they argued about semantics. Okay, they weren't NASA employees. The claim never said that they were. Oh, it was never said they were. The actual statement is correct. And the Hill that you opened up before is actually quite reputable as a news organization. What you have is, I had a really good one that really shat me off, right? So
before you give something else,
Yeah.
I actually agree with you there. They were arguing semantics, saying that technically they weren't NASA employees. We just employed someone to do the research for us. But the research was exactly what they said it was.
exactly what the claim was.
Which is strange that and then they've got these articles saying, no, this is all just false.
But you know what the thing
it's
is?
a lie.
What you saw when you first Googled it, if you ask me why they just do that fake fact check, I'll tell you why. When you Googled it and you saw that up there, you immediately disregarded. Most people don't ever read the article. No one's ever going to click that. Someone's going to go, oh, yeah, it was bullshit. I knew it was bullshit. And they'll just go on with their lives. That's it. And that's why they do this. That's the site. The psyop is right there because they can't really lie because libel, slander, all the rest of it. They can't lie, but they can write the most deceptive heading because most people, I'd say 90+%, just skim the headings. And that almost happened to you. Bro, you almost got psyop just then.
No, but hang on. I will always read the article.
Okay, you're one of those people.
I don't believe this shit because I know that they do stuff like this now. But as you read the article, sometimes you go, oh, it actually was bullshit.
Yeah.
In that one there, it actually strengthens the argument that it really was exactly what
it really
they
did
said
happen.
it was. Yeah.
It's exactly what people were saying it was, which was that they've redoubled efforts and hired all these people to discuss the implications on religious ideologies or what would happen if they disclosed alien life.
And the part to me that's strange is that if you read the article, it just makes the debunkers sound even more bullshit. It's like, why are you guys saying it's debunked when all you're doing is arguing semantics and actually confirming that what they said it was is actually true.
It happened. It just didn't happen exactly how they said it was, so it's 100% false. That is nonsense. Now, the best one of these I had that really opened my eyes to this was that basically I saw this post that someone said, like, look, they had weather data from 2010 and weather data from 2020 from the exact same place in the States. They had the exact same weather channel, and in 2010, it had higher temperatures than the same day in 2020. But in 2010, it wasn't alarmist. It was just a regular map of the area of the temperatures. In 2020, they added fire emojis. They added red, dark, to make it look like the world was on fire. And the guy literally said in the post, look how they're trying to drum up climate fear because in 2010, it was actually hotter at the exact same day. But now they've added all these fire things and all the rest. And you Google it, I wanted to find it because I was talking to someone about it. And, fake. Fake wasn't happening. Fake. I'm like, oh, geez, maybe this was before I was like, my eyes were open. I'm like, oh, fuck, maybe this was just like someone photoshopped it. Clicked on the thing, went into it, and it literally says fake. They've been adding these emojis since 2018, not 2020.
Oh my goodness!
I'm like, what the
so
fuck
they just
do you
confirmed
mean?
that it was true, but
Yeah.
the emojis thing
Yes.
was fake. Yeah, like.
And I was like, what the hell am I just looking at here? Like, who funded it? What are you doing? Like that, and I just do not trust that stuff at all. And it sucks to be in a position where you can't trust the internet or any sources like that. But whenever you see that debunk in that way, the same way when you told me about the Calvine UFO when we first talked about it, you said, oh, I saw this thing about it being a reflection of a rock in a lake and a man in a rowboat. Like, the skeptics are just out there. They're so lazy almost, man. Because most people go, oh, Calvine UFO, debunked? Question mark? You would find that guy's article still. The guy who said it was a rock. Oh, great. It's just debunked. Put it aside. Don't have to think about it anymore.
I think, personally, I'm a better skeptic than professional skeptics. Because professional skeptics are actually, like, most of them are fucking idiots.
Yeah, but the thing is that they never accept that they have... They accuse the other side of having a belief bias. Right? The belief bias is that you will suspend your critical thought process because you really want to believe in it being true. They have a disbelief bias. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's the exact same mental process, but they think of themselves as so superior. But you've got the same problem, brother. You've got the exact same blinders on, except yours are facing the other way.
100%.
And it really shits me. Like, the professional skeptics ruin the pursuit of truth as much as the fanatics do. As much. I hold them equally responsible. If you think that those fanatics are the reason why people don't take UFOs so seriously, you are just as bad as them. You are hurting the cause just as much. Because now I can't believe a skeptic either. I can't believe a skeptic.
Yeah, because they've essentially, by doing that, they've actually discredited their skepticism.
Yeah.
as well.
Which sucks because you really want level-headed skepticism. We really need it, especially in the study of UFOs. And that's why, for me, like when I decide do I give any credence to a conspiracy theory, I look at that plausibility argument, because I know that I could take it from a skeptic line of sight, which is ain't good enough. If I'm going to believe aliens exist, I need the hardest, firmest evidence. But you ain't going to get that.
You never get it.
You never get
Do you know, one example of that is when they say that Trump said to inject bleach. I was like, oh man, that's crazy.
What a fucking
went and
retard.
looked it
Yeah.
up, and it was completely bullshit. I was like, I watched the whole video, and I was like, he never fucking said that.
Yeah, they said he made fun of that handicapped person, and that wasn't true either. Dude, he suffered from that so much more than anyone else. I think climate change is the same problem right now. Like, take it from someone who's like versed in like the sciences as well. It's not as firmly established as you'd like to think. People love to tell me, oh, there's consensus. 97% of meteorologists all believe in climate change. And I'd say to you and go, all right, well, the only jobs that they have is for solving climate change. All of their funding is there. What are they going to believe? You want to be a meteorologist who goes, let me just check if all of this is true. Who the hell is going to fund you, man? They'll look at you like you're the one retard not in on the game. Like, shut up, brother. We're making money out of this. Like, imagine that. Imagine that your whole industry is based on forming one problem. The more worried people are, the more funding you get. How can anyone counter your research and get funded to do it? They can't. They just simply can't. So of course you're going to have consensus because all the money's facing one direction. It's the same as expecting a vaccine manufacturer to make to fund a study debunking the need for vaccines.
That they've pumped money into to develop, and they need to make money back on. It's like, of course they're going to fucking say it's fine, dude.
Of course. And then you're like, oh, 99% of vaccine manufacturers believe vaccines work. Of course they do. They're selling the product, brother. They're selling it.
Yeah, it's literally the toothpaste commercial.
Yeah.
It's literally
95% of dentists, it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Dude, it's a wild thing, but like this skepticism bias is just as real as the belief bias. And I wish people were more aware of that. Like when I talk about the Arecibo response and all the rest of this, it's so fantastical if true. It really is. I mean, that is just the idea that you have a alien species out there trying their best to communicate to us for long distance means, and our government is hiding there, and they're actively trying to like give the information to the people, not the government. That's why they put it on the crops. That's the people, the peasantry. The peasants work on the crops. We want the people to know we exist. The government's hiding it. That's why they keep going for the crops. Because every time they try to go anywhere else, they either get shot out the sky if they come even close to a city, or military installations, fighter jets, all the rest of the stuff, which we know that they do. We know they get engaged by military jets all the time. Apparently, they've shut down a few of them.
Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah, if you're one of those UFOs, like, where do you go? How do you communicate to people without having the government immediately seize upon you and destroy you? How would you do it? I'd say put messages on the food where the government isn't around. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, but you say that, but think about like Rome and all that sort of stuff. If they were around and you believe that the whole theory about
imprinting on crops?
Yeah, no, like what's the there's like the Anunnaki and stuff like that, and they were around here. Like, why is there no documentation of that stuff? Or perhaps there was and it's been destroyed.
Well, the
or something
Sumerian
like
tablets apparently have a lot of stuff that sounds like transient aliens visiting us. Like, it's actually quite creepy how much of that there is in the the Sumerian tablets. Like, I think that's fucking amazing. But I think that's for a complete episode for another time, to be honest. But this one here is like, just not to lose the fucking bury the lead on this, man. Apparently, there's rumors that we've detected something, a moving object, that course corrected towards us after we observed it. And the wildest thing is, if you think, well, how could they know we observed them? It's actually quite possible to know, because when we are observing something, collecting like the photons from it, there's like a response. We know that when you observe a particle, it reacts. If you were trying to find consciousness in the universe, and you could somehow find out when a conscious observer has interacted with you, like if your particle spin changes, if quantum entanglement happens, you just send something out, and then as soon as something observes through a telescope, you know where the observer is. That's actually not outside the realm of operational physics. Like that, we could do that. You could have an observation detector, because as soon as it's observed, your probability snaps into a function. That's a physics term for it. You could find out if someone's observing you from a distance, no matter how far in the universe it is. And maybe we literally observed these guys, and they went, ding, we have a conscious observer, and they're coming to us now.
That'd be crazy, because I know that the science actually backs that. And if that's actually what's happening, that'd be fucking wild.
It'll be absolutely wild. And that's what, if we wanted to find other conscious life, that's what you do. You do it. You'd send just a beacon out, and as soon as something sees it, you know where the seer is. Like, we may have just done that. We may have just literally revealed our location. This might be like Call of Duty. We accidentally fire a gun and it pops up in their map as a little red dot. Like, we may have just revealed ourselves.
We literally just put the ring on and Sauron knows where we are
Yeah.
now. That's literally what it is,
better.
right?
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what's happened. And it's because we have this really powerful telescope now that can see clearly in a distance, and it picked this up.
Yeah, or it could just be nothing.
It could be nothing. This
It
could
could
just
also be
be,
nothing.
you know, one person misinterpreting a leak. It could also be that too. But it's so fascinating to see how these leaks, they almost like bubble up to the surface a bit. And all you ever see is like the bubble when it comes above the surface, but it's coming from something underneath the water here, information-wise, that's like trickling up.
Yeah, I hate.
I'm seeing it pop up in a few places.
I really hate the idea that, like, it really annoys me that the government thinks that they get to keep secrets. And I feel like you only really ever need to keep secrets if you're doing something bad. So, you know, like the JFK thing, they still want to keep that hidden. The UFO stuff, there's a lot of secrecy behind that. It's like, what gives you the right to hide stuff from the general population?
What gets me the most about these crop circles, and it's why I want to keep coming back to them, that the suggestion is that what is being constantly imprinted in these pretty little shapes and circles and all the rest, they're trying to show us 0-point energy. They're trying to show us how to make a magnetic reactor that doesn't require... Imagine it... Just follow me along on this one, right? Imagine if we had a way to see quite clearly through drone technologies another alien race. We see them from a distance. We can't get there biologically. It's too far away. But we can see what they're doing. And we see that they're polluting their waters. They're polluting their air. They're killing themselves. They're violent, they're aggressive, you try to communicate with them, they just respond in hostility, but they're the only other life form you found for miles, light years around, and you want them to make it. You really do. And you think to yourself, what do they need? Well, they need electricity, or their whole ecosystem runs on electricity. Whole civilization runs on it. But the way they currently make it by burning fossil fuels is polluting their planet. We need to give them blueprints to how to make this stuff. But every time we try, the government hides it from them because there's a profit motive built in. There's a deceptive motive built in. And you know that from the stories we've covered here, where they assassinated people who made like hydrogen engines and shit like that. I fully believe the government suppressed 0-point technology, like 0-point energy, for a long time. Let's be honest. How is it that we still use the same concept of a steam engine even now? Heat it up, expand, use the expansion as energy. That's still what we do across the board, bro. For like 120 years of technological evolution, we've not made a better form of energy.
It almost makes, like, it doesn't even make sense that we haven't developed something more.
And one thing I always see in some of these really complex crop circles, the ones that I look at and go, okay, this is one. There's some that you can see a human being able to make, and there's some that you're like, I don't think so. They look like blueprints, man. They genuinely look like blueprints on how to make an engine. Most of the time magnetic. The proportions of like the chart, everything looks like a blueprint to me. And some people have tried to actually make the engine based on a crop circle diagram. You can actually find crop circle blueprints if you Google it. There's a whole collection of people have put together of ones that they've seen that we think are blueprints. Blueprints for a reactor or a motor or something like that. It would be a great thing just to pop up now to just have a look at. Hey, thank you. Herbox Katrina.
Thank you very much.
You good?
I was just like, don't say it out loud because I don't know if it's like some
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of meme. I'm like, oh no.
Always gotta be careful. Someone almost got us with that once, didn't they?
Yeah,
We called out their
fuck,
name.
That's
That's good.
Got us.
I enjoyed that.
So what was it?
People just go crop circle blueprints. So someone's actually put a collection of them, and they're the most like advanced and complex crop circles. But like, imagine if you were that alien race and you were trying to communicate from this distance. All of a sudden, it makes sense that that is how you try and do it. Especially if you thought that the government was trying to hide the information you were trying to communicate.
So
Blueprints.
This is the shittest keyboard. I need to get a new keyboard, man.
It's got images.
Yeah.
So some of these ones here that you can see, like people have actually tried to like put them through like a CAD model or 3D model to see, well, how could this operate through? And a lot of the proportions that you're seeing, like there's magnetic fields involved to these. They look like almost atoms, like they're trying to show us new alloys or something of the sort.
Okay, 1 second. Let me have a look here.
Yeah, so people have tried to actually make these. I love if I can find the one that there's a documentary of the guy trying to make one. Like he never got it working in the end, but like he actually tried to build out what he thought it was trying to show.
So these are real.
Yeah, these are real crop circles. You can see people standing in that one, how big this is. But even this to me looks like radiating out like energy. A lot of these look like that looks like a freaking a molecule. That looks like a molecular compound. That one there for sure. That is how atoms join together. That's a covalent bond. Something that looks like a chip to me. It's like some sort of computerized chip.
A little bit,
Your motherboard in the middle. Some of these other ones look
Here's
like
the guy that did it.
apparently this is the guy who did it. You know, some of them are quite simple, but some of them for me look like they're trying to show us some sort of basically magneticism.
Yeah, because these guys said that they're the ones that made these crop circles by just stomping them down. Right?
And you can make quite simple patterns on them for sure. But some of these there's like the tree of life.
The fact that they say that you can do this overnight is what makes me go.
That's what really gets me in the dark as well. By the way, in the dark,
in pure darkness, they make. I mean, it's probably possible.
But if you keep going down, there's like something like that. That there looks like a freaking literally up.
Oh, sorry, which one?
If you go close that, some of these ones here, like they literally for me look like that one there in the top right.
Here?
That one and the one in the bottom left. Bottom left is a really good one as well.
Let's see here.
A lot of these to me look like an energy source is in the middle, and it's the way it's pulsating out the energy.
Maybe, or maybe it's just a pretty
picture. But close that one, and like close. So scroll down. One more. That one.
This one.
Yeah, that's the one I'm pretty sure I've seen that the guy tried to actually make this as like a magnet spinning around, like a positive charge and a negative charge spinning around.
This one here.
Yeah. So I've seen someone actually try and recreate some of these. That's people standing in the middle there. These things are huge, man. That's one thing I don't get either. They're massive structures that are built in here. And you could say there's patterns and it's just like pretty patterns and all the rest of this stuff, but oh wow, that's cool. Is that like a heat?
So modern crop circles designs generally use
Euclidean geometry, which focus on the relationship between basic shapes, circles and triangles. The interplay comes between squares, circles, and other geometric shapes. The designs often have mathematical elegance embedded into them. That's the thing that gets me as well. Like, you know, I told you those Egyptian vases. The ones that have like mathematical equations built into the curvature of the vases. A lot of these crop circles have a similar thing at play where they're like embedding formula into it. Like you're almost telling a computer to go make this.
They seem similar, right?
They seem computerized, don't they? There's no random chaos of a human concept involved.
Like, see, this one here doesn't seem that
humans.
crazy to me.
That's humans.
That looks like a human one, right? But how are they made?
It's kind of cool though. I think that's why the Arecibo response is such a fascinating one for me as well. That it looks like a communication. And do you know the one I said to you as well with the Arecibo response, which got me as well? So at the bottom of that Arecibo response that they sent, when we sent our message out in binary, we gave a visual demonstration of what our telescope looked like. So it had the dish and had like the central radar thing. So what we said was, this is who we are. This is how we sent our message. They had a response, which was, this is who we are. This is how we sent our message. And the response thing was this crazy, it looked like a central ball shooting light out either way. They're like, that was 2001. I think it's 17 years later, in a similar area, there was a massive crop circle that was just that structure in way more detail. Like they came back and said, this is how we're sending this. So if you got Arecibo response. Yeah, so open that one there, the fourth one across, left, that one there. So if you can get a full size image of this, because this is, you can show people this one as well.
Just give me 2 seconds, I'll bring that up.
Yeah. So basically for everyone who's watching us along here, this here on the left is the binary code that we sent out in the message, I think it was in the 1970s. And then in 2001, the thing on the right is a massive sized crop circle that popped up within, I think, 1 kilometer away from the telescope that we sent it on. And you can actually find the image of the actual crop circle for the response, because I think the crop circle itself is so much more impressive that they replicated the binary code exactly. Not a single error. Louis, not a single centimeter of grain got bent the wrong way to ruin it as a binary message. You could run it through a computer and it would interpret it. That's how good they did it. Really? That's how good the hoax was. Not a singular one grain. So one stalk of grain wasn't bent the wrong way to ruin this message. Overnight, in 2001, when drone technology wasn't even that good, these people somehow knew over a 300 by 100 meter sized areas were actually imprinted. That one's crazy as well. That popped up in the same place nearby. That's the message that says we oppose deception. That was also in the same field within a week of the response.
Oh wait, let's bring it up there. Where is it?
But that one there, if you go left, bottom left, that shows the two messages that they sent and how far they were in the same crop field. The other one was like I think braille.
Okay.
So the size of the binary response there is absolutely insane. This is enormous. And it's perfect response to our binary code that we sent.
It is crazy to think that humans did that in a night.
Insane. And that they got it right. The fact that they got it right in that sort of size and scale.
Was this a legitimate thing?
This was, yeah. It popped up right next to it. That's the message it said. It said, we oppose deception. Was literally, once you translated this as braille, it had words in it. And it said, we oppose it. We are here. We come in peace. We oppose deception. So you open that one there, up, just above that one. That shows you the scale, by the way. That's the telescope dish.
So let me just show.
I know. Dogs. But if you keep the image like that, so that shows you where the telescope dish was that we sent it in the 70s. And that's how it was in the field adjacent to it that these responses happened. Yeah. Those are the two responses that we got. So if you open up just the image that shows you just that one there, that one's perfect. That one's fantastic. That is one of the best ones I've seen so far. It shows you what this is that we're talking about here. So scroll down a bit. Where's the one that just had the zoom out? Oh, fucking Pinterest is fucking pain in the ass. But that image there that you got there, see underneath the alien's head? So on our side, we showed what size we are as a human.
Yeah.
So you got to really understand binary to know what we sent. We sent like how many humans there are, what planet around what sun we are, what carbon, like that we're a carbon-based body. We sent all this information, and the response that was imprinted that crop circle wasn't just that it was binary. It was correct binary code. It responded in each section to what we sent.
As it was, yeah.
And their response was crazy, man. It was like, and that's it. Oh, this is perfect. Brilliant. Great job. This is fantastic. So scroll up. So this here is what happened first. We got the A.W.S.O response, the binary code response in the ground, and a picture of what looks like us, a human face almost, and the response. Then that crop got harvested. The crop circles only ever survive for one season of harvest.
Right.
And I scroll down. So on the bottom of their A.W.S.O message, so scroll up a tiny bit. So on the bottom of their message, I said that they sent us what it looked like they used instead of our... We use a transmitter. They sent us what they used. And you can see it on the... Yeah, that bit there, around the far left side of it. Yeah, that top left. That bit there is what they transmitted with. It corresponded with our satellite. I think it was a few years later in the same place, or a year later. So 2000 and 2001. So scroll down. Again, in much more detail, they send us wherever it is that they used to send their message. Because remember, crop circle is going to happen once a year. It's right before harvest. Always overnight.
Yeah.
So firstly, they sent that, and this came afterwards.
That is wild.
One of the most complex ones I've seen, still in the same field next to the fucking telescope.
So what's this? According...
Yeah. And do you know why they debunked this? So they sent this in 1974. We sent the message. We sent it to a star system that was meant to be 23,000 light years away. So and what they said was that, well, we'll never get a response. That's why it was safe to send there, because they were really worried about sending this at the time. When we talked about the dark forest hypothesis, they were like, we want to try sending a message, but where do we send it? So like, we don't want to risk anything. Let's send it to the most far away habitable planet we can see. They debunked it because they said the message came back too fast. They said that there's no way our message would have got there yet, so this can't be an authentic response. No concept of what might have picked up the message on the way. No concept of did something intercept it. No conversation. Just came back too fast.
To be fair,
too quickly,
though, to be fair, that it's like a logical... Well, there's no way. Like, for where we sent it and the time it got back to us, it doesn't make sense. But yeah, you're completely disregarding that anything else could have happened.
Yeah, anything else could have picked up the message, heard it. We might already be surveilled for, we know, by some sort of proxy thing that's like, oh, we know there's life here, let's see if it becomes advanced. But if you scroll down there, like, it's so bizarre, man. That one there, the face... I feel like what the face was like half a human face, half whatever their face was, because the eye apparently was different, the nose was different, the mouth was different, but it's just this patchwork of like the face.
Well, it almost looks like there's a diagonal line
Yeah.
going through it as well.
Right.
Actually, like diagonal from here.
How bizarre is that, man? And remember, this is enormous. If you scroll back to the first image just to see what scale we're talking about here, man. Well, that's a car park there. There's a car park sized binary response 27 years late.
It is crazy.
A generation late, man. Like that satellite was not operational anymore. So this is why we sent what we sent. This is a really cool breakdown. So our binary code actually has all this information into it. It has like the atomic numbers, our periodic table, what our atmosphere is, what our DNA looks like, what planet we are in the sun. Their response had every single facet of that. And it shows you the size of the radio that we used. And it shows our solar system, the size of human, how many we have. If you look at their response, which is the coolest thing. Let's keep going. I think it should be further down here. Oh, they break it down. I'm sure they will keep going. Yeah, that is absolutely crazy that they managed to like binary respond in a crop circle. This was such a good hoax that it generally, like, this had a lot of research done on it in the scientific community, Louis, because it was that amazing as a response.
Yeah.
They couldn't discount it based on anything else. The binary is perfect, man. It's a perfect response. This shows you how binary works. The response in the crop circle was perfect. They didn't miss a single digit. So that's how we shot it out. It went beep, 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 beep. Like basically that's how we sent the message out. But if you were to interpret it into like a grid-based pattern, you would get the image that you see. And the fact that we got the response, which is the right interpretation of our binary code, 27 years later, in a crop circle. So if you have this one here open, right? So I think their one was like, they had 20 billion population. And when it shows you that there, so it shows you that their home planet is that one, but it also shows you that they also apparently inhabit 2 more planets around their solar system. Can you see that it's got, right, if you give me the mouse.
Yeah.
I'll show it. So this bit here, in our image, we had 1 planet lifted up, and that was to show that that was Earth. That's where we are. They have a planet lifted up, and they had 2 more lifted up, as if they occupy 3 of the planets in their solar system.
Yeah.
And they have that they're a silicon-based life form, and their DNA has 3 helixes. That their size is about 5 foot compared to our 6, and that the geometric shape's a bit different because their heads are a bit bigger. But all of this, you could run the crop circle through a computer and it would interpret it because that's how well it was done.
Yeah, it is wild.
It's one of the most complex hoaxes that they want us not to talk about because it's not just like making a pretty pattern and a shape. It's finding something we genuinely sent out, one of the most brilliant minds that we had at the time between Carl Sagan and Stephen Hawking that designed this message, right? It's not only finding that, digging up for the annuals of history, because it got forgotten, man. We let it go. The satellite got closed down. Someone had to first find that. And then without the help of AI, it's only 2001, somehow find out what the perfect binary response would be. Have to probably go to some professors somewhere to get the help. Nothing's ever come out. No professor said, yeah, some kids asked me and I gave this to them. So you tell me just some teenagers figured out perfect binary responses in 2001 and then executed it perfectly in the field overnight. No, that's what I'd say. That's more bullshit. That's where being the skeptic takes a bigger leap of faith than not being the skeptic. Never came out. No professor of mathematics ever came out and said someone asked me to give them the perfect binary response. It's 2001, man. There's no ChatGPT. There's nothing.
It is strange.
And these are photographs.
It is very strange.
These are literally aerial photographs. This is what it looks like from the ground.
Yeah, scroll out.
Do you know what I mean? This is like, it's incredible. This is before you had commercial drones, man. Well, you only see the messages when you're up in like a plane flying over it. And that they got it right. That they got it dead on right. You could perpetrate a better hoax if you tried.
It's definitely alluring to me, and I really like the idea of that being like a message.
So this is a great one here, because this is basically our message and their message next to it. So in each facet that we send.
Give us that for a sec. I'll scroll it across so everyone can see that side by side.
Perfect.
Oh, actually, if I zoom in.
Yeah. Brilliant. Standing across a bit. Nice. Lovely. A bit left. Done. For me, it's one of the most amazing ones I've ever seen. That anytime you look at the debunking of it, the only thing I've ever been able to find the official debunking statement for this. Louis, we're not muted, are we?
No.
That's good.
Just scroll down.
I know. Yeah. So all the debunking I've seen of this all stems from we sent it somewhere further. This response came back too fast.
Yeah.
They even said if this response came back in 60 years' time, this would be one of the most amazing occurrences in human history. They admit that it's one of the most amazing things that have ever happened, but the timeline doesn't work, so it can't be real. This is insane.
See, I'm like not smart enough to know if like this is legit or not. You know, like.
Okay,
just bring up the
enough.
chat as well, just to make sure no one's fucking chatting there.
Which one? This one here?
Yeah, go and then there you go. Hello, friend. That's right.
No, that's a scam thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, so I didn't
Well,
read
thank
the
you for
whole thing.
joining in. But
Well, thank you.
But with this one, I'll say the same as well. I'm not smart enough to know. Actually, no, I'm going to take that back. I'm smart enough to know what this binary stuff is because I've delved into this quite deeply. And I understand how this works and how we can interpret a message through it. I understand how we could send it through audio waves as well. It's a brilliant way to send a message. But the fact of the matter is that they didn't just send back. It's not like we got audio back that we then tried to interpret and go, oh, wow, beep, 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 beep. Oh, wow, this. They literally came and just put it smack bang next to the telescope. Like, we're literally talking within like 80 yards, man. Within 80 yards of the telescope that we used to send it out, they come back and go, boom, here you go. This is us. And then the other message that came back later, did you find that the text translation of the Braille? I think hopefully they have it here as well. I don't know. This was done before that because it was a year after that another message came there that shows like an alien's face. And the message is in Braille. And literally says, we oppose deception.
Yeah, here, give us that. I'll
just find that A.W.S.O message, we oppose deception. They'll find it straight away.
This is actually a really cool document, actually.
That's really cool. So just go, if you go A.W.S.O response, we oppose deception. Oppose. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, let me just grab that. Find one that has the text on it. Because for me, that I have this is just an image. Yes, perfect. Now this is absolutely crazy because this one for me, like, this is probably the more fantastical element of it, right? Can we? Oh, fuck off. Can we just zoom in on this?
Go back. Oh, hang on. Is there any other ones that you can click on there?
I like that one just because I had the text open to it as well.
Just right click it.
Yeah.
And then go open image in. Can you do that? Yeah, new tab.
Brilliant.
And then
Yes.
and then zoom.
You got control? Nice. Brilliant.
All right,
Perfection.
let's bring that up.
Share it for people as well. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so if we zoom out a bit so people can actually see.
Yeah, go scroll over it.
Where am I on the mouse? Where's this mouse going? There. Oh, there we go.
There it is. Scroll out a bit.
Yeah. All right, perfect. So the message that came, so this is 2001. You've seen where this is. It's the exact same field. We had the response, which was the binary code, and this image that looked like looked like a human face to me, to be honest. That looked like a human proportion face. The next year in the same crop circle, this thing popped up. Now, this thing has a very alien-looking face. And to be honest with you, the head proportions of this match the head proportions that are given us here as well.
Mm.
It has a Braille message. So Braille, the way it works is basically if you run your hand over it, you can tell it through the bumps. It's like an alphabetical interpretation.
Yeah.
So this is the message that was there. It said, beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. Believe. There is good out there. We oppose deception. Conduit closing.
What is there a reason why they're in capitals there?
I think this might be the person doing it. I don't know if Braille has a capitalization. I think it actually might. I think that maybe it was meant to be like that as well. That one for me was more fantastical than the response. But if you can believe that the response has some credibility to it, that's also what I'm saying. No one's ever said anything about that. Remember, one season, crops got harvested, this thing is gone. It's only us right now talking about it. You don't see this anywhere. This doesn't pop up again. There's no Calvine. We're not getting like a UFO thing out of it. It's not a big story. But for me, it's one of the most amazing examples of possible communication backwards.
Or it's one of the most amazing hoaxes of all time.
Yeah, the
potentially.
most amazing hoaxes of all time. The most amazing. Like, the most amazing with no one ever taking credit. And still to this day, no one taking credit. So amazing that they responded in binary code in a crop circle without putting a single grain in the wrong direction, without even having commercial drones. So fantastical that they made a braille message perfectly in a crop circle. This is it. This is literally, if you zoom in on from the ground, you just see like crops flattened and standing. That's all they've used to make this, and they're in a perfect braille message.
Yeah,
with no commercial drones.
It is crazy to think that someone, if this is a hoax,
Louis, the organization that would have had to take place for this to happen, right? You'd have to have someone tell you how to respond in binary, which is not a well-known thing, not for some teenagers to do. The amount of effort organizationally that goes into this hoax is so big that we would hear something about it. Something will leaked about it. Someone will say, "Yeah, I worked on that. Yeah, that's pretty clever, right? It took us so long to get the perfect." How do you get the braille message into a crop circle, man?
Well, maybe they planned it over 20 years.
Maybe. But then, where's any evidence of that planning? People say that, the moon landing, if it was fake, the conspiracy was so big, something would have leaked. This is up there, man. This would have had something leaked. This isn't just some teenagers fucking around for a plank of wood. You got to see the difference between this and every other crop circle you've seen. Like, there's a difference between this and other crop circles.
Like, just on the...
Well, if you want to just see that one, we can find one that just has that.
Yeah.
If you see that from the sky, this is humongous. It's as big as the other ones. It is huge. We're talking like 300 meters long, 150 meters wide. Like, if you just put that in scale for yourself, how big they made this message, and then how accurately they incorporated the braille, the actual words in there, it's perfect again.
It is insane.
It's perfect.
But then also, like, if you go to Italy and see some of the artwork that people have done, it's not out of the realms of possibility that humans can do something like this, right?
I agree that that we can do stuff like this. We can't do it overnight, and we can't do it without massive financial assistance. So when you talk about hoaxes, it's just like, where's the funding come for this, for people to do it? How did it pop up overnight? How did no one see someone else making it? Because I guarantee you, the scientific community really wanted to debunk this.
So Zai says, how long did it take for them to notice that?
So I think that was seen immediately.
I think it was the next day.
Yeah, because the farmer comes out to basically harvest the crop. It's right before harvest when these happen. Like, it's when the crops are dried out enough that the harvest machine comes through and pick them up. That's when they can snap as easy. You never see these crop circles happen when the crops are still green and ripe, because they pop back up. It happens like a day or two before harvest. Farmers hate this, man. It costs them so much money in produce when this happens. They hate it because it's not just this. It's public comms. They lose lots of money.
Well,
and you can see images just
did
off
Marvel
what that one
buy
is.
Sony, or is this Sony reboot of A.W.S.O? They bought us out, brother.
Yeah, we're only spouting Marvel propaganda now.
Literally, yeah.
But yeah, I think for me that one is one of my favorite ones. I think that I can't get my head around. I can't get my head around. So I receive a response.
It is very. It's cool, but
Yeah.
I just...
It's also
it's so hard to tell if it's bullshit
But
or not.
you said that if they want to communicate to us, they'll come out in the middle of a city and show themselves. All right, firstly, I'll say to you, they'll probably get shot out of the sky before they get even close. Let's agree on that.
Maybe.
Almost certain they'll get shot out of the sky before they even get close.
Maybe.
Second one, though, how about this is another option of how to make themselves known. You imprint a 4,000 square meter image into our food that's perfectly imprinted with a message for us all of what your species looks like. In fact, you don't just do that. You already use a message that we sent. So not only are you showing that you exist, but you're showing that you're listening.
Yeah, you're talking...
That's also a pretty good way to do it.
The perspective
of a steel man. If this was real, why would they do it this way?
Yeah, but like... So there was 20 years. We have the exact formula to replicate, to do this back and make it look really cool. And then say you get it done. Say there's months, years of planning. We got to get this done in one night. You have a massive group of people. You get it done, works perfectly, and then here we are talking about it on the podcast.
But you say that as if that was all they wanted. If you're going to do a hoax that elaborate, you'd want all of humanity believe aliens exist. If you want to do it that elaborate and that perfect and that well funded and well researched, your only goal can be, I want people to really believe that UFOs exist.
Or
So
you
what's
maybe
the
you
next
just
thing?
want to play a prank.
But there's so many better ways to play a prank than that. That is
What I
perfection.
think it's the perfect way to play.
I think
a
it's a
prank.
perfect prank if you want to believe that. But as I said to you before, they didn't get a single grain snapped in the wrong direction to make that a binary message.
As far as you're aware, you're saying
No,
that
I looked into like the actual like the proper study of the thing. Like if you could run that through a computer, like they didn't get a single digit wrong anywhere. If you reincorporate that into zeros and ones, it is perfect. And you gotta understand how hard it is. We took a computer to send our message out for zeros and ones. We couldn't send it out visually because it was too complex. We could only send out zeros and ones and hope whoever hears it can interpret it back into the message. We didn't. That message that you see of like human, carbon, all that stuff, that wasn't well known in 1970. That wasn't well known. We only sent out zeros and ones, Louis. We sent out zeros and ones.
hang on, but we were
You would have
smart
to-
enough to
We
take
knew what it was going
the
to look
visual
like.
and turn it into zeros and
Yes.
ones.
So whoever wanted to do this prank would have had to like be able to reverse engineer our binary to our message, find out where they had to change the zeros, where they had to change the ones, run it, find out exactly what that would look like, and then execute overnight in the ground. And we don't know anything about the hoaxers.
That's an interesting point.
That
and
blows my mind.
Zai says people back then. Sorry, Darko. That is an assumption of how you would do a hoax.
Mm.
People back then were bored as fuck, even when they were smart.
Look, possible, but what I'm saying about this one is that it's so intricately done. It's so perfectly done. It's 27 years late to the area, which is the craziest thing to me as well. That's what really gets me, because if you want to do a hoax and it was the 80s, fair enough. If that was a year after, fair enough. If that was 10 years after, fair. It's like a generation removed from something that was almost completely forgotten, by the way, as well. We forgot we even sent that. That wasn't still, like, there was nothing about that was happening. And it just popped up there. Crop circles have been happening for a long time before that, by the way. This was just something that happened, like, in the same area, right next to the satellite. So it could be a hoax, but I don't understand why someone never came forward for that one.
I don't know, man.
Which is the
people
best
don't come
one.
forward for any of the hoaxes, really, and
Possibly.
the ones that do sounded like bullshit anyway. So
Possibly.
I don't know. Who
But
knows?
for me, that one's fascinating.
I like the idea, and you're the guy that speaks from passion because it's so exciting.
Mm.
I would love to believe it's real too, but
What do you
we
give
have
that
to-
one?
What do I give that one? It's actually like a 30% credibility for me
I'll
personally.
take that. I'm not too far away from that either.
30% that it's real.
Problem is, it's so fantastical because it's not just that you say, okay, it's real, and then you got walk past it. It's like, okay, it's real. That has reframed everything. If that is real, that reframes everything.
If that's real, yeah, the
What does it mean
entire
about we oppose deception? That's nothing I don't get about the message that was sent either. If you want to hoax something, like it doesn't have enough flair for what a teenager would hoax.
No, but you're saying it was a teenager. I don't.
No,
think
I'm saying
a
whoever
teenager
the
would have done
hoaxster
that.
was, right? If it was a hoaxster, that means someone was playing a prank. Whoever the prankster was, like that message that was sent there, literally just says like, so it says, "Beware the bearer of false gifts." There is a long-standing belief that the U.S. government has been getting or being given technology by an alien race in exchange for something, whether it's access to humans, access to food. I have no idea, but there's been a long-standing theory that we've been reverse engineering technology that we got. Bob Lazar talked about it a lot. That beware the bearers of false gifts. For me, what it seems like, what's really fascinating, is that there's two alien species at play here. There's one that's collaborating with our US government, and one that sees it happening and wants to warn us. So you say, why don't these good guys just land somewhere? What if we are being like harvested? It's called the farming theory, which is really one of the most dystopian ones, that we're being harvested for, like, as a food source. And the government knows about this, and they're collaborating with them. The reptilians, if you want, whatever you want to call about it. But if you take that framing off it, then it makes sense why they can't land in a city and send us a message. What if, like, a whole planet's being surveyed by this evil alien species? And
Yeah,
these
but,
are good guys
that
from a
doesn't.
distance.
Now, see here. So that theory doesn't align with the globalists are trying to reduce the population. Then see, it contradicts another conspiracy,
Well,
which we believe is probably true.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's on with that. We don't know what their motives are, if they do exist there as well. Maybe there is a part of that. They do want to take over the planet as well, so reducing us. Right now, we're a threat There could be a bit of that too. I don't know. I'm not too sure.
Do you
But-
see though? Do you see how that's bullshit in some regards? Then
No, I see that's contradictory for
Yeah.
sure. But these are all wildly speculative theories in the first place. But I'm just trying to understand, like, if we take the premise that this one was real, I'm just trying to wonder why that would be the message. Beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. We oppose deception. It just seems, I don't know. It just seems to me really unique.
yeah,
It's
it
so
it
unique,
seems,
right?
but nah, it seems like something that you would say to make people think there's a conspiracy or there's some
Maybe.
sort of like mystery or something
But
like that.
let's put it this way: if that is a hoax, the Arecibo response is a hoax. It's one of the most brilliantly perpetrated hoaxes I've ever seen, and I've looked into a lot of these things. It's not only is it brilliantly perpetrated; it's so beautifully random and almost unplanned, whilst being the most planned, that I can't logically follow how that happens in reality. It's so unplanned in terms of 27 years later. It's so unplanned in terms of a perfect interpretation of the response we sent. They could have sent anything there. They could have done any crop circle. Remember, the first thing that was imprinted in that field was the most complex. Was the most. It's not like they started with a little prank, got a bit of attention, went, oh, let's outdo ourselves next year. No, they sent a perfect binary response. Perfection. Within, like, digitized. A computer could interpret that. That's crazy. That's great. There's so much about this one that's just like, I can't wrap my head around how you get to that. You always look for scaling complexity if it is a hoax. You would have expected something to be in that field in the 27 years beforehand. If someone had this idea, the first thing they attempt is the perfect thing. There's no other binary attempt that didn't look good. Do you know what I mean? It's
As far as you're aware,
I've looked at all crop circles. I spent a long time, when we did that episode, I researched the hell out of these. I've seen hundreds, if not thousands of images of crop circles. I've never seen any other attempt at a binary message, ever.
doesn't mean it's not possible.
Doesn't mean it's not
Doesn't
possible.
mean it's not possible.
But if their first attempt was their perfect attempt, I'm suspicious. Because that, at nighttime, overnight, in a field, using planks of wood, never done it before, it's never been seen anywhere before, and you execute perfectly. That's what I'm really skeptical about. Humans are not like that, man. We're not perfect executors. We get better over time. You mentioned Rome. I can show you old Rome buildings that aren't as good as newer Rome buildings because we got better at doing it as we kept doing it. This is the first time anyone tried to imprint a binary message in a crop field, and they executed perfectly. That's madness. That's madness. That's where, for me, like, only if you want to be a skeptic for the sake of being a skeptic, do you not look at that and go, I can't explain that. That's very suspicious. Isn't that the most suspicious thing? That unfunded, unverified hoaxers that have never leaked on who they were, who funded them, or how they did it, executed something so complex so perfectly 27 years after we sent the message. Like, the suspension of disbelief to get to thinking that was just
I don't know if it's that unbelievable.
So whoever did that was either a grown man in their 50s who was a young man when the message got sent, or they weren't even born yet. So who does that?
Or it was someone that was
Found
really
out about
interested
it.
into it. Yeah, they were really interested and they thought this would be pretty cool.
And
to
then
do.
just went, all right, this is what it should look like. And then just went out and did it.
Yeah.
Overnight.
Not one person.
Oh, a
I
group
think
of
it
them.
would have been a group of people.
All right, so they had an idea about what it should look like.
Yeah.
Nowhere else did they attempt it to see what went wrong, if they were able to do it. No single one of them made a mistake.
They could have used
Overnight?
a computer to generate
In
how...
2001.
Maybe. I don't know.
Bro, do you remember what the computers were
know.
like in 2001?
Zaya says...
An assumption of someone doing it before. I agree, but I'm saying I haven't seen it. I haven't seen a crop circle anywhere off a botched binary code message.
Yeah, but they would have practiced in a different way, or they would have had something that would have been...
You said yours is 30-70. What I struggle about by you giving it 70% is that the logistical way humans could have done it just seems so far-fetched to me. It seems equally far-fetched, and that's why I'm sitting here going like, well, that storyline, if you're going to give me a narrative to follow, is so hard to believe as well. And I would have loved if science could come along and debunk this by saying, no, we can prove to you this was man-made. But that's not how science even tried to debunk it. Science just said that the message came back too early. That's what really pissed me off, because I would have loved a full study on this. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
What?
I mean, it would be great.
Never happened.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what technology was available at the time. You know, it'd be really cool to do a full deep dive and do a YouTube video on it because I think a lot of people would be really interested.
I would love
to
to do that.
We could film it all.
Dude,
And
we
get
were
it all
9 years
done.
old at the time. That's
Yeah.
how long ago this was.
It was a long time ago.
2001.
Zai, would you be keen to edit the footage if we got all of it together and did all
I
the
can
other
make some
shit?
slides. I can make a presentation.
Yeah, and we could do it like break
Yeah.
it down like a proper YouTube
Well,
video.
that's what I
That'd be
tried to
really
do with this one
interesting.
beforehand, but the problem was we did it, there were other people on that podcast episode at the time, so I couldn't like quite go as in depth with you as I wanted. But I can find all that stuff again. It's a folder on my laptop somewhere. I've got all the information
You go full
saved.
balls to the wall, and then we
Yeah.
could just talk about it like a proper YouTube video and just
Yeah.
clip it all together and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, I can even look to see if I can find someone who did try to take credit for it.
it would be interesting.
we'll
Even
do
if
that.
you could reach out to them and just
And
say
we-
like, hey, I know we'll call it in a sec.
Yeah.
Like if you could reach out to someone, and say like, hey, are you going to take credibility for this? If there was even anyone out there, and see if you could prove it or something like that, that'd be pretty cool.
Alright, easy. I won't call that there. It's fucking hot. in this
Yeah,
room,
thanks
fellas.
everybody. That was pretty good discussion
Yeah,
there.
just shooting, guys.
I could with a bit of help of AI imagery. Yeah,
Yeah, easy.
definitely. I mean, you probably don't even need the AI imagery because there's some
Yeah.
crazy shit to even put on it. But
Easy. Thanks for joining us, guys. We're fucking boiling in the shed.
yeah,
Catch you guys in the next one.
I'll catch you guys next week, Saturday. Game on.
Easy,
Yeah,
let's do it.
Saturday. We'll see you then. All right. Peace,
Peace.
everybody.
Cheers
Thanks
for
for
joining
tuning in.
us.
Oh, if you haven't yet, please follow us on X. It's also Potty. Can you change that to podcast, by the
Yeah,
way,
I can do
instead of
that. Yeah,
Potty? Because
easy.
people won't search Potty. They'll search podcast.
Yeah, easy. All right.
And then Animals with Shoes on YouTube, straw_hat_Louis on Twitch, and Animals with Shoes on Kick, and also Instagram. Just follow us on whatever,
easy.
and we'll keep putting out the good content.
Nice.
All right,